Quickly into space, Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter. Second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the key. What a cut! Broken ankles! See ya!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida. 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this Tuesday, early on in the month of January 2026. Semifinals later this week with Oregon and Indiana, Miami and Ole Miss. And we'll have something on that and of course, get more and more into it. Jake Butt from the Big Ten Network will join us on Indiana, Oregon, but also on the Kyle Whittingham hire at Michigan. He played with the Wolverines. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina here with us. Garrett Ross is running the mothership, and Andrew Valet doing what he does by throwing things into the atmosphere and making people look and grab and what we have every day. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and thanks for your time today on 365 Sports. If there was ever an example of Nebraska football, the 7-5 and losing games and having leads and not able to finish last night when Paul, did you send this one out?
I did.
I appreciate you doing that. That Kenny Minchie, the backup at Notre Dame, committed or was going to transfer to Nebraska, but apparently had not signed anything. And then last night, Kentucky got a hold of him and probably gave him more reasons to go and play for the Wildcats. And this is where we are. And a typical Nebraska near the goal line fumbles the bag.
Yeah, well, they do. But again, and look, he's a guy who was highly rated out of high school. He hasn't played much yet. So, we'll see what Will Stein and Kentucky can do with him. But, he's not a proven commodity. So if there's a silver lining, you don't really know what you were going to get. And you don't know what you're going to miss until he does well or doesn't do well at Kentucky. Now the market is starting to dry up because of the higher name quarterbacks, but there are still some guys out there that could wind up visiting Nebraska and come, and we'll see where that is. But yeah, he was committed to Nebraska. It was announced, everybody had it, and then he flipped, and I'm sure it was a money deal. That's what these are, and that's fine.
Is made it clear that they're going to try to get what they can get. Remember, they were up with the Sam Leavitt news and others as well. We'll have note on Sam Leavitt. Craig?
What was y'all's favorite Minchie Nebraska moment? Was it when he committed or when he decommitted?
It was the first graphic. It was really a good –
Hey,
I'll always remember that.
Garrett. I'm flying solo the rest of the show.
Okay.
That's fine. Hey, fine with me. I'll sit back and watch Twitter and see what happens with the portal the rest of the day. But, this is a bummer for Nebraska. A lot of premature celebration, although you didn't feel like it was premature because you weren't anticipating a guy committing and decommitting within the span of a 24, 48-hour period. But I'm sure money talked. Maybe that SEC logo talked, even though the Big Ten logo is doing a lot more talking nowadays. So I don't know what it boiled down to. Maybe he just wanted to play for Will Stein. I mean, Dana Holgerson's a good offensive coach, but Will Stein's a up-and-coming guy with a lot proven already, and now the reins of his own football team. So I could see where that would be appealing for Minchie as well. And like y'all said, I mean, I don't think any of these guys are surefire things. I don't think Brennan Sorsby or Sam Leavitt or whoever else you want to throw into that mix, DJ Lagway or anybody, I don't think any of these guys are like surefire, guaranteed program changers or elevators. I think there's a good chance that they are. I think there's a good chance that Tech's offense is more dynamic and lethal with Brennan Sorsby running the show. And I think that LSU certainly would have a better offense next year with Kiffin coming in, but also then you add Sam Leavitt compared to Nussmeier last year. So I think there's some natural elevations, but I don't know that anybody's just going to blow your doors off from the portal next year. And so this might be a big loss. It might not be. Let's see how it happens, but it sucks and it's not fun. And it's part of this game that it's great when you're going and plucking guys from the portal, but it's not as much fun when they're getting plucked from you, and especially when it's not attrition that you want. It's a guy you literally just got to replace the most important position on the field. So, I mean, until contracts are signed, then anything is fair game in this sport, and I'm sure that he's going to be making some good money, and he's going to definitely have some good coaching, but will remain to be seen. And this is the kind of thing I feel like I need to mark down and set a calendar reminder for a year from now, because for the next 8 months, all it's going to be is hype and promotion for this thing, for Kentucky, for Nebraska, for all of college football and their programs. But we never hardly ever go back and revisit after hemming and hawing over Kenny Minchie. We never go back a year later and go damn, he played in 3 games and had 57% completion percentage, and just kind of revisit that. But in the moment, it's not good news for Nebraska, and the quarterback market is drying up. And so where do you turn to now? Because there aren't a lot of surefire options of the guys who you do have something of a track record from, that you do feel like you kind of got something you can hold on to. There's not many of those guys left. He's not one of those guys, really. So, I don't know where you turn to now if you're Nebraska.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I do want to – I know that there's a young man that played at Tyler Junior College, Trey Guerra, quarterback, had a big year. They were in the semifinals for the national title. That Texas Tech is glaring at him, looking at him, and talking to him as the possibility of adding him to their roster, because you need the depth at that position. Perhaps it's going to be someone like that. I don't know. But it's such a Nebraska thing to happen.
I'm gonna throw out the names of some guys that are still in the market, and tell me if you like it more or less than Kenny Minchie.
All right,
more or less.
All right,
Craig, feel free to participate too. DJ Lagway.
Yeah, okay.
More or less.
More if he's healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, more if he's healthy. He's proven more.
Yeah.
Okay. Deuce Knight.
No.
I think you're splitting hairs.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Okay.
They don't need somebody that you're not sure about. Like Craig said, we don't know about all these guys, but okay.
No. But Aiden Childs.
He's bounced around, Texas, Michigan State, and then Oregon State at some point?
Well, he was just at Michigan State because he came over from Oregon State.
Yeah.
So he followed Jonathan Smith, and he's done a lot more than Kenny Minchie has at this point. I don't know that I would be in love with it either way, but as far as who's proven something, Aiden Childs has played a lot more football in college than Kenny Minchie's played.
Okay. Bo Pribula.
I'd rather have Bo Pribula.
He's one of those guys.
Based on what we've seen.
I don't know if he's compared to what Missouri's had before, but he's a gamer.
I think, and just knowing Coach Rule like we do, I think, unless there's something I don't know about Bo Pribula, but he seems to be the kind of quarterback that Matt would like.
Well, it feels also like I don't know what I don't know about Kenny Minchie.
Yeah.
Because there's so little to go off of.
Yeah.
But Bo Pribula has done. I mean, Kenny Minchie's thrown for less than 200 yards in college at this point.
Yeah.
So, what are we even comparing it to?
Yeah.
Whereas I believe Pribula's he's thrown for at least a couple thousand yards in his career at this point.
I would take
Pribula.
Pribula, yeah.
And the last one I'll give you guys is Anthony Calandria from UNLV.
I'd rather have Calandria. Yeah.
I like him. But so they'll find out someone, but that's the kind of year and where they are that Kentucky, and that's what college football's changed. Now, Nebraska hasn't done anything in 20 years, but Kentucky can win a battle and steal a quarterback out from underneath Nebraska football. Now, LSU, big day for them as they are hosting Sam Leavitt, the former Arizona State quarterback who was still there, and Charlie Weiss, who's doing that double dip with both LSU on the staff eventually and helping with recruiting, and will be there for that visit and also being a part of what Ole Miss is doing to prepare for their game against Miami. Big, big night, LSU and Sam Leavitt.
Well, I don't know how many options Sam Leavitt has, and I don't know how many options LSU has. So, I mean, they might as well just make it official tonight because the Kentucky thing's clearly off the board, and whatever it was reporting that we saw, I don't know how much of it that we see, if you put it through a filter, is actually just agents cooking up. Well, Kentucky's putting together a really strong offer. LSU better up their game, or Texas Tech, and then guy visits Tech. Well, Texas Tech and I'm sure they are putting together really good offers, but I also know that agents are smart, and at this point, with Kentucky off the board, there's not really a whole lot of cards to play if you're Sam Leavitt. Like, where are you going to go to Nebraska? You going to threaten to go to Nebraska? I mean, maybe you do, but LSU is where the signs have been pointing now for several days. He's the best quarterback available. He's the guy who they've obviously had their eye on, and vice versa. There was the Sorsby situation of him visiting LSU, and I don't know if Lane Kiffin had his choice, like at a vending machine, who he would pick just straight up, but they clearly have long been eyeing Sorsby, and Leavitt's been rumored for a while. So it would just make sense for this to get done tonight or within the next 24 hours. And then we move on from the LSU, Lane Kiffin, Sam Leavitt sagas as they've all been ongoing now.
If he leaves Baton Rouge, and this is like a 1 or 2 day trip, if he leaves Baton Rouge and they have not secured him, that will be interesting.
Yeah, it will.
And probably he will be secured.
I am going to throw a wild card out in these quarterback searches that we have not talked about yet as far as a team goes. And the reason I think that they're kind of avoiding it is they've got more important things at play in that they have a game this week, and that's Miami. Miami does not have a surefire quarterback for next year. Now, they've got some guys on their roster, but the last couple of years, developing a guy on the roster has not really been Miami's MO. So the only thing I can think if Sam Leavitt leaves LSU without a deal is that Miami has come in from around the corner and topped it. Because we haven't heard anything about Miami and quarterbacks, which is good on Mario Cristobal for keeping the focus on the very important game that they have this week and the potentially program reinvigorating game that they have ahead of them. But Miami is going to be a wild card for some of these guys we haven't heard about yet. I'm very curious where they stand in this. And I do think that Sam Leavitt's probably going to go to LSU, but that Miami thing has me wondering.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could very well see Sam Leavitt being a Miami guy, and his brother, his agent / brother, whatever that whole relationship is. I could see where, Miami could be a wild card here, and I kind of forget about them given that they are active and playing right now. So they, in a normal year, a normal portal year, would have had more time and could drag this out and go get somebody post-spring football. But with the rules changes, you have to figure out what they're doing. They have to figure out what they're doing, and that is an interesting angle that could maybe be played. But if Sam Leavitt leaves LSU without committing, then that is going to be very interesting for sure. And then you would logically just have to go look at Miami. Like, that could be one of the only things that would prevent him at this point from just jumping on board in Baton Rouge, because what other options does he have? Maybe that's it.
Yeah, Keywan Lacey. We're seeing these announcements, which I could take it or leave it, but this is a stud. And he's got business this week in that game against Miami. But we saw where Trinidad Chambliss made the decision, if he's eligible to play, to commit to coming back to Ole Miss. There was questions because Kiffin's in LSU. He's an Ole Miss kid. And Keywan Lacey is signed to come back to play for Ole Miss. He is a really good player from Lancaster, Texas, just outside of Dallas.
I think this is almost as good news as you can get as your quarterback coming back if you are Ole Miss, because he is a dog, man. I mean, he gets after it. He was playing hurt the other night. His left arm is not at 100%, and I didn't know that. Like the fact that they had to keep reminding me of it was on the broadcast was because he was still doing really well. against a good defense. So Kewan Lacey would be, I mean, it's kind of 1 and 1A if I'm, building the offense like Pete Golding is for next year's Ole Miss team. I want my quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss, and I want Kewan Lacey there, and everything else can kind of fall in between.
Yeah, he had the special brace because he hurt his shoulder in the first-round playoff game, and good on him for fighting through that. He had the bad fumble, but he more than made up for it with some of the plays he made late, including getting a pivotal first down, and you wouldn't have known he was hurt or had a big brace on his shoulder because he fought through it, and he ran tough and ran physical and didn't look to be any worse for wear. And I think this is an excellent addition to next year's roster, or a return to next year's roster. Chambliss would be absolutely this massive domino if they can get that sorted out. But to get Lacey back when he could very easily have gone to LSU or anywhere else in the country for that matter, you've got to feel great about what all Pete Golding's been able to retain at this point. And he is a dog. He is a tremendous football player. He could have been bound for his third school as well, but I guess he'll just stop at 2 with Ole Miss and then go be probably a pretty high pick in the NFL draft or one amongst the running backs in 2027. But yeah, good for college football, good for Ole Miss, and good for Kewan Lacey and his family, because I'm sure he's being handsomely rewarded and he deserves it. So I was glad to see that.
So he's back for Mississippi and a great player. Jaden Ball. There were thoughts that maybe with Florida and him going to possibly Texas. Texas got their running back. We'll tell you about that, and they got a good one too. But Jaden Ball, he's a big dude, man. I remember seeing him last year start to have some, when Florida had that very nice ending to their season when Lagway and them got hot to save Napier's job. He is a load, and he's coming back to play for the Gators.
Yeah, this is the big news for them. Obviously they got their quarterback now with Aaron Philo coming with Buster Faulkner. I think the Buster Faulkner offense is perfect for Jaden Ball. He is, an absolute road grader monster, knocks people over. He's an NFL back. He's going to be an early round pick when he comes out, probably next year. And kind of an old, like Florida, people may forget, I don't know, they may forget it, but like Florida for a long time, it was Emmitt Smith and Eric Rhett and Fred Taylor, and they had just all these guys. They had this just row of like one guy would graduate, and then you have another stud running back, Ernest Graham. Like they just had really, really good running backs for a very long time. And obviously that kind of like comes and goes when you're in the kind of era that they're in. But Jaden Ball is very much talent-wise in line, at least when they were in college, with a lot of those guys.
Yeah, really good player. Thought he was going to get a lot of attention in the portal, and I'm sure he did, but it doesn't mean you have to go anywhere, as we just discussed with Kewan Lacey. So, yeah, another SEC back staying put and dealing with a coaching change, but getting rewarded and deciding to stick it out. And I think he and Philo, as far as just kind of beating the drums for next year, it's a good couple of pieces to start off with in the new regime there. So very intrigued by Florida and the fact that they've been pretty irrelevant now for a while. They still get more attention even when they're bad than most because they're still a big brand. But as far as like commanding your attention, the only reason you've really looked their direction is because of the messiness of it all and the fact that it wasn't working out, or DJ Lagway wasn't playing well, or for 3-4 years it felt like Billy Napier is on the hot seat. So nice to have a fresh start there in Gainesville. And I think that you're pretty excited about Philo at QB and obviously very excited about Jaden Ball coming back to be in that backfield with them.
Bryce Underwood, Michigan. You never know, right? But the new coach and Kyle Whittingham mentioned that the first player that he eventually talked to when he was taking over and Michigan was getting ready for the bowl game against Texas was he spent a lot of time with Bryce Underwood. He comes back. Utah's offense ran the quarterback quite a bit. That doesn't mean that they will do that, but if you don't, you got to use that. You got to use his legs, his body, his power. He was good, and he was also bad against Texas. After they took the lead, Texas had that great run, and Underwood started to throw some passes into areas that he shouldn't have done.
Well, Jason Beck and Devin Dampier was a really good combination. I think that if you, put Devin Dampier in the upgrade machine, you probably wind up with something like Bryce Underwood as far as a guy coming right out of high school that has as many skills as you want for an 18-year-old quarterback. I think that's only going to get better. Now, to be honest, if Michigan had lost, it could honestly, Andrew could have been named the head coach and probably wouldn't have had to worry about them losing players, because if they lose guys, it should only be because they're not going to play for the new coach, because the money is going to be fine, especially if you're Bryce Underwood and they went above and beyond to go get you last year financially and essentially double your money from what LSU was offering, which was a lot.
Can't believe you guys always point. It's clearly the culture. It's clearly No, I mean, it's both in some cases. I'm just seeing a lot of, and it's all over the country, of this fight of fans arguing money versus culture, and I think mostly it's both. And I think if you've got both, you're in a really good position. Michigan's obviously got some money. They got a lot to work on with the culture, though. The culture sucks based on the headlines from the last couple of years. So I think with Kyle Whittingham, you hit a home run as far as a head coach who at minimum's a bridge guy to the next guy you signed to like a 10-year deal, whoever that may be. But maybe he's a pretty lengthy bridge, because he sure doesn't seem like he doesn't want to, or he doesn't seem like he wants to quit coaching anytime soon, as evidenced by the fact that he's at Michigan right now after a couple of years of rumors about retirement. So, I mean, Bryce Underwood, great news for Michigan. I mean, obviously you've already invested a lot in this young man at this point, much less what you're going to continue to invest in him. He's a really talented guy. I mean, for starters, over Devin Dampier, he's got like 5 inches and like 25 pounds of muscle probably on Devin Dampier. So he's well more equipped to run the football and take some of the toll of that. I don't know how much you want to run him, though, but I'll be interested to see that with this new Wolverines offense. And yeah, this is good news. He was definitely not the best quarterback in that bowl game. That was Arch Manning.
No question.
Arch Manning well outperformed him, but he had some good moments, and he had some good moments throughout the year. He still feels very raw, though, and like there's a lot of work to do there, but there's an evident skill set that you're very excited about if you're this new coaching staff, and you're looking forward to working with him these next few months to get him to the best of his abilities.
The last 5 possessions in that game with Texas, and they took the lead at one point early in the fourth quarter. Texas scored 17 straight. Interception, touchdown, interception, lost possession on down. So he got a little rattled.
I feel like very much he's still coasting off the recruiting ranking, kind of, as far as like the hype and buzz around him. It's because of what you think he can be and flashes of what he is. But he hasn't shown it in a total package way at all yet.
But what I think Kyle Whittingham and Jason Beck will know and maybe kind of reveal to the world is since Jim Harbaugh left, and he maybe like, look, Michigan was not a prolific offensive team even though they won the national championship as far as the numbers go. They were efficient and dominant and big and physical and all of that. But the last 2 years, their offensive coaching has left a lot to be desired, and their play calling and their decision making. And now that I know more about Sharon Moore, last year's quarterback decision makes way more sense to me because I don't think he was, fully focusing on things. But they, get Bryce Underwood, they throw him in there as a true freshman, and that's all well and good, but I think schematically they needed a refresh for sure, given the fact that you have a true freshman who's never done it in there, and I'm watching them going, I bet you the Big Ten coaches go, well, thanks for not changing a damn thing. Like, this has made it pretty easy for us to plan for you on this side of the ball, and they're just trying to do it physically dominate them. Look, they won 9 games. They were good at it, but they're not in it to just win 9.
No, he's a banger, and again, young. He's a pup, but he played at times. You could see it in that game with Texas, and then also you could see where he wasn't quite locked in. And then UT, Trey Wisner gone, Baxter gone, the entire running back. Pretty much, they have the great incoming freshman from Florida, Raleek Brown, who had 255 yards in a game against Colorado. Had 3 100-yard games, 2 other than the one I mentioned, had a big year. And he is committed to going to play for the University of Texas. A tremendous player. He kind of snuck at the end. That big game gave him a lot more yardage than you. I saw him, but I never thought of him as that good. But he was, and he ended up, of course, scoring a ton of touchdowns for them as well.
I'm not – okay, he's predicted to commit to them. I don't think this is official yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, to me, Ball committing to go back and stay at Florida is probably a sign that he's going to end up at UT.
Yeah. So he's maybe not going to visit Alabama now. So we'll see. But I think
Alabama got a running back.
Yeah, they got Hollywood Smothers.
Yeah.
So
So okay, Raleek Brown is.
we're talking about that
looks
next.
like he's going to Texas.
Craig.
So yeah, I mean, Raleek Brown, 1,000-yard season, didn't find the end zone all that often.
Yeah, I said a ton of touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns.
That he did not have a lot of touchdowns, but he does have a lot of yards, and he was very effective for Arizona State last year. When one of the big question marks was how are they going to move on from Cam Scatteraboo? I think they did that pretty well. I definitely think they missed him a great deal, but I think made up for his absence more than maybe people anticipated they would be able to, and Raleek Brown was a nice part of that, a big part of that. So, it's a good get for Texas. Clearly, there's things starting to cook a little bit more offensively for them towards the end of the year. You'll have Arch basically in his swan song, you would think at this point. Next year will be the last year for him before the draft. And their offensive line was able to improve at the end of the year. Obviously, they're adding to receiving room and tight end room. I think they felt like they probably underwhelmed overall as an offense this year, given the expectations. And so they're being very active here early on and trying to address some of those issues. And that running game is definitely a big, if not priority number one for them. So I think it goes a long way in helping to address that.
Yeah, the way that they ended last year running the football was really pretty good until, of course, Georgia was hard for anyone to run against them. But with Wisner, who really wasn't even the starter, he was a fourth-team running back on the depth chart, and then everyone got hurt. And he turned out to be really, really good now at Florida State. They just never – they did against A&M. They ran the ball well against the Aggies.
Wisner did.
Yeah, Wisner did. But other than that, their best running back was really Arch Manning.
Well, and taking away the fact that the running game was not nearly up to snuff in 2024, 2025 as it should have been, as it was in 2024. Bottom line is that if there's a position they had to address pretty quickly because they have 4 guys from a 6-man depth chart jump in the portal, they really need to get at least one in right now. Yep. I know they've got guys incoming in Texas. Nobody's better at the true freshman running back historically than the Texas Longhorns, but they needed a guy in the fold, and Raleek Brown's a nice get for them.
All right. Also, a couple. Speaking, you mentioned Alabama. They do have their running back in Hollywood Smothers. NC State, 1,128 yards, 7 touchdowns, and he gives Alabama a running back. You talk about a bad, boring, and sometimes hard to watch run game. They had it last year, and now Smothers hopefully a chance to Oklahoma to NC State. Now Alabama give them a little bit of a spark.
Yeah, I like Hollywood Smothers. I watched him a little bit at NC State. I'd completely forgotten about his stop at OU. I had completely forgotten about that until I saw this graphic earlier today. He did really well in that offense. They need, I was just surprised that Alabama, Jam Miller, came highly recruited, but their running backs as a group were just not spectacular.
They look, you know what they look like to me? And again, they've had some bangers. They've had some Heisman Trophy winners, and there's only one Derrick Henry. It just seemed like they were kind of slow, and they just didn't seem to have any zip to them.
And a lot of times you can point to the offensive line, and maybe the offensive line was an issue at Alabama when it came to the run game. It just felt to me from the very beginning of the season watching Bama that they didn't have a difference maker back there. They just had a bunch of Jags, just a guy. And Hollywood Smothers is certainly not just a guy. So I'm curious to see whether it's Ty Simpson, which I don't think it'll be, or Keelan Russell, which it will be, turn around and hand the ball off, and how that changes Kalen DeBoer's team offensively next year.
Craig, they had one running back with over 300 yards. It was Jam Miller, who had 504, and he was injured part of the year. That's Alabama. That doesn't make much sense.
No, good pickup for them. And, yeah, they need to get better in the running game. And was disappointed. Jam Miller went to the same high school I did. I was hoping for a big year from him, but obviously injuries played a factor into that. So I think there's a few programs out there, Alabama, Texas, a couple of them that say, yeah, we weren't nearly good enough on the ground, and they've addressed that early on here in the portal.
All right, so there we are with that. And then this one here, and we'll get to a few more as the show goes on. Ari Temkin joins us today, and so does Jake Butt from the Big Ten Network, the next couple of segments. This one here has been interesting to watch on social media. Parker Livingston, he's going to Oklahoma. They offered him out of high school. He ended up going to Texas. He was a very effective player and a roommate of Arch Manning when he entered the portal. Of course, there was a lot of that. This sucks, man. He was going to be there 4 years, and then everyone comes to the rescue of what UT offered or what he wanted. He is going to Oklahoma, and I think this is a possession receiver and a guy that will catch the ball over the middle and a good pickup for the Sooners.
Craig, how do you feel about this one, like 1 to 10?
Like a 7 or 8 or something like that, probably. I think he's a really nice player, and I think he'll be highly motivated given his exit from Texas and now being on the other side of the tracks, so to speak. I think he'll be as fired up as anybody for Red River next year, and that's saying something because of how fired up people get for that game. But he's got obviously a very personal experience now, having been on both teams, and he's not the first to do that. Not even in the last few years. We've seen some guys flip-flop. But, this is notable because I very vividly recall, like so many UT commits and recruits in the past, and this goes the same for other schools of, like, when you got them, they're the greatest thing ever, and then when you don't need them anymore, they're, he was overrated anyways kind of thing. But I remember Parker Livingston getting hyped up a bunch during his recruitment, and then when his career first started, and then, last year had a pretty nice season, but for Oklahoma, I mean, they need all the help they can get. I got sick and tired of watching Isaac Satana be like the only guy that can catch a pass until the playoffs, when all of a sudden your big transfer portal acquisition starts to produce, until it's like, where was this the entire year? But nevertheless, they need some weapons for John Mateer to throw to. And I think this is definitely a guy who upgrades you in a big way on the offense for Oklahoma. So, I like the pickup, and I think the Texas aspect to it's just an extra layer that you like even more about this edition.
Freshman from Lovejoy High School. I contacted Todd Dodge, the great high school coach, was at North Texas. I said, can you tell me much about the Parker Livingston story? And he did not coach him. He was Chris Ross, I think, it was the head coach at Lovejoy at the time, who's now at Tarleton State as an offensive coordinator. He didn't do a lot as far as statistically, 29 catches, average 18 yards a catch, but he did score 6 touchdowns and had a couple of long ones. Against OU, by the way, last year, two catches, 29 yards. One for 21 and another one for 8 yards. So there we are with Parker Livingston. And the social media, you're right, man, back and forth. The trader to, you wanted too much money, to Oklahoma going, welcome to us. And they get it. Parker Livingston, the wide receiver from the University of Texas. Byron Brown. Can we do that one, Garrett? From USF, this is not a surprise because Alex Golis, the head coach at Auburn, is Byron Brown is going to be the quarterback at USF. He's put up huge numbers. I saw Colt Kublik put something up with him. 61 touchdowns, 31 rushing touchdowns, and about 10,000 yards of total offense for the Bulls of USF.
Yeah, this is a good, a nice seamless pickup. Auburn's got a couple other USF guys in the fold. This has kind of been the coaching change thing this year. North Texas, Iowa State, to Penn State, like all those different things have kind of been like this. This is not a shock. I do think he kind of held out to see, if there was other interest or bigger money, but Auburn was going to pay him a lot, and he knows the system, and it's made him a really good quarterback, and he's got one more year left and rolling along.
I think it's the logical conclusion, and always was, that he would follow Alex Golis, but you never know when people start throwing money around, and I think he made the right choice because you could have probably gone somewhere else or chased an extra buck, or maybe just gone somewhere else for a change of scenery, or you like the girls there better, or whatever the case may be for a young man making his decision on where he wants to finish his college career. But I did think you ran the risk of just not having the same type of coaching that knows clearly how to use you to the best of your ability. And so I think him sticking with the guys who know him and that helped him produce at a high level last year makes the most sense in the world. And he can have his cake and eat it too at a big school with big money and all of the rest of that. So yeah, this was an easy one to put in the prediction machine early on. Took a bit longer maybe than you thought, since that so many other quarterbacks had made their choice before today. But I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody's surprised by it, but I think it's a good call by Byron Brown, and obviously a really good pickup for Auburn to get you excited for next year. And Lord knows their quarterbacks, even though some of them have been highly rated, it's just been a bit of a mess there in that quarterback room throughout the freeze years. So I think this provides some much needed stability and some sturdiness to that QB1 spot.
Austin Simmons, Garrett, he was at Auburn. He now is headed to Missouri. At Ole Miss. He now is headed to Missouri. He was the starter, and then Trinidad Chambliss eventually starts to play, and Simmons was never heard from again. He now will head to Missouri.
Still playing for Ole Miss, though, throughout the playoffs, so it's good that he's not just jumping on a plane right now, but
more like practicing.
But yeah, he's still there. He's available for them if something
he might
happens.
play. If he does, then you're probably not having fun if you're an Ole Miss fan.
Yeah, so interesting fit for Mizzou. They've also got Matt Zollers, who is a highly rated freshman who played this year when Bo Pribula got hurt. So there'll be, I'm sure, a competition there, and we'll see if Austin Simmons grabs the starting job at Mizzou.
I don't even think the portal was yet, and there was already the report he was going to Missouri. So I'm sure that they just got that deal done in the first 10 seconds of the portal being officially open or something. Not at all working that behind the scenes the last few weeks or months. Yeah, that happened so quickly. I guess they needed to let it just sit out there for a little while before becoming official. But, yeah, this is like one of the very first things I feel like was announced on the precipice of the portal opening up. And so, good for Missouri. And he'll get a nice shot there with a really nice program and a stadium that's gone through some upgrades or is going through some upgrades, and had a solid year considering the injuries and whatnot. But he's a talented player that really was on the forefront of a lot of the talking points early in the season, and this whole Trinidad Chambliss thing happened and just completely threw things for a loop. Who could have foreseen? I'm sure some probably on the Ole Miss beat may have. But I fully expected to see Austin Simmons throughout this year, and instead it was the Trinidad Chambliss show. And there's a chance it may be again next year, although we're all waiting with bated breath on the NCAA to make a decision on, are we going to enforce this eligibility rule, or are we going to make a change to avoid lawsuits or whatever? I don't know what happens with the Chambliss situation, but Ole Miss could be scrambling for a quarterback given Simmons leaving if Chambliss doesn't get that extra year. But, that's a player with a lot of talent, obviously, and hopefully Mizzou's the program that can get the most out of him. So
Missouri picks up Austin Simmons. Ole Miss continues in the semifinals. Simmons a part of that team, as you guys mentioned. But Trinidad Chambliss is the dude, the alpha, and the game he had against Georgia was just absolutely memorable. When we come back, Ari Temkin. Also today, Jake Butt at 4 o'clock on the Big Ten. Oregon and Indiana in the rematch, and his thoughts as a Michigan man about Kyle Whittingham and what he's done so far, and the fact that they may have fallen into him or he fell into their lap. Either way, he'll join us today at 4. This is 365 Sports. I have had for about the last 5 years some stinging, pulling, tugging feeling in my right hip. But there's nothing wrong with my hip. The problem is in my lower back, and I've had MRIs that show that it's just got a little gristly as I've gotten older. And I've had the shots, the injections that help kick the can down the road for a few weeks, maybe even 2 or 3 months, and finally went and had a consultation with QC Kinetics in Dallas on 75. Start the year by not hurting. It is amazing the feeling now when I get out of bed that I don't have immediately that feeling. Or when I play golf, I could actually take a full swing. Or if I play golf, I don't have that soreness or that, man, that hurts that night. I could play a couple of days in a row and it's all gone. QC Kinetics delivers regenerative treatments that achieve and actually help your body repair the areas that are causing you pain, and those achy knees, hips, shoulders, back, whatever it might be, elbows as well. Instead of facing invasive operation, surgery, how about you get yourself treatments with QC Kinetics? It's amazing. I've now had, I believe it's 4 treatments with them. I have another one coming up in February. I am not completely like I'm ready to go run a marathon, but I don't have that pain that was shutting me down. It hurt all of the time, and it's gone. I've experienced this personally. Skip the 3 to 6 months recovery, skip the pain, stop the invasive surgery, and get in touch with QC Kinetics. Locations in Dallas and Houston. You've seen Roger Clemens endorsing the products, the former great pitcher in Major League Baseball. Take care of the pain. QC Kinetics. Go to more information, by the way, is QCkinetics.com. January is supposed to be a clean slate. Take care of your body now at QCkinetics.com.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to start something new at Allen Samuels. Drive in with huge savings on all of our Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. From the trail-conquering Jeep Grand Cherokee, towing in style with a Ram Heavy Duty, or cruising the city in a sporty and luxurious Ram 1500, we've got the perfect ride for you. Stop by Allen Samuels in Waco, where we make car buying easy.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Joint pain? How long do you got? I'm talking about my back, my elbow, and my shoulder. 24 years in the majors.
Roger the Rocket Clemens dominated the game, but even legends feel wear and tear.
I put my body through a lot for baseball. I didn't want more surgeries.
QC Kinetics regenerative treatments use your body's natural healing properties to help restore joints without surgery. And the results?
Pain is gone, I'm back, thanks to QC Kinetics.
Schedule your free consultation today. Better starts here.
Probably go another 3 innings.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks.
Got floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here we go, this 3 o'clock hour, and Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn, who was at that Miami Texas Tech game in Florida last week, and he joins us with Craig and Paul, David Smoak. Man, hey, thanks for your time. Big 12 had a really nice start to the Bowls. And then Miami slaughtered Texas Tech. And I say slaughtered, that's probably a little bit too much.
Oregon did.
What?
Oregon did.
Oregon, excuse me. Hammered.
It was in Miami.
It was in Miami.
Right.
And then you had Cincinnati. They lose. And then you start to see everybody else. It started well. But, Ari, in the end, where is the Big 12, in your opinion, when it looks to the national narrative?
Yeah, 4-0 start, as you alluded to, Smokey, and then after the Orange Bowl, it was really the lead up to the Orange Bowl, a great game between Arizona State and Duke, which Arizona State fell, and then it just went downhill from there, and the Big 12 ends up 4-4 in bowl games. There's this, narrative now forming, perception of the Big 12, where it's like, oh, look, they proved they weren't as good by what Texas Tech did by laying an egg. And I mean, it's so ridiculous because the Big 12 basically has one game to prove itself every single year. And meanwhile, the SEC continues to add more and more teams every year. They had one team a few years ago, 2 teams in last year's first 12-team playoff, didn't make it past the quarterfinals in either of those last 2 seasons. And they're 3-7 overall. In the last 3 years, the SEC is in the playoffs, including sending 5 teams to the 12-team playoff this year and only having 1 get through to the semifinals. And by the way, 2 of those 3 wins are SEC wins over other SEC opponents. The only other win they have is Ole Miss beating Tulane. But you've got Alabama beating Oklahoma, and then you've got Ole Miss beating, Ole Miss beating Georgia. So I don't know why more people aren't looking at the SEC and saying, aren't we sick and tired of watching the same teams lose every single year when the SEC just gets more and more teams in every year and proves more and more that they shouldn't be there? I mean, Alabama got absolutely boat raced more so than Texas Tech did. At least Texas Tech's defense showed up. So, yeah, I mean, look, the public perception has fallen a little bit. And I even saw, one national reporter who, loves to poo-poo everything. I'm not sure the guy even likes covering college football, and yet all he does is talk smack about everybody. And, he's talking about, should the Big 12 even be, be a power conference? It's ridiculous. It's one game to prove itself every year, and it's ridiculous. Give the Big 12 more swings at it, and I think the Big 12 would do much better.
Well, I mean, Ari, the problem, the problems don't necessarily just exist within the conference hierarchy. It's, look, part of the reason that this year's playoff was as kind of janky as it is going in is that the ACC had a stupid tiebreaker rule. And the Big 12 has been, they had a stupid tiebreaker rule at a time or two, it's been there. The sport refuses to learn from its past. And so they do things the same and then they change them, but they don't change them enough based on those lessons learned. I think that has more to do with it. And look, the SEC argument is valid in that, we've got to make everything. Why did Alabama's championship game not mean the same as BYU's? And all those kind of things to balance it out. But really, it's not it should not be about conference supremacy. It should be about everybody having the same standards to get in. And then if there's a committee deciding in splitting those hairs when those standards run into a wall against each other.
But I think, Paul, I'm not sure that there's any way in which the standards, quote unquote, will be the same for the ACC and the Big 12 as they are for the SEC and the Big 10. And what I'm arguing is that why would the SEC get the benefit of the doubt anymore? There was a certain period of time where the SEC dominated, and we're past that time. I mean, the Big 10 has a really good spot here to win 3 consecutive national titles. And if they do, it'll be 3 consecutive different teams winning 3 consecutive national titles. In fact, I believe, and I've been wrong all postseason, so take it with a grain of salt, I think the winner of the Indiana-Oregon game is going to win the national championship. So, 3 consecutive national titles, 3 different teams out of the Big 10. The SEC continues to get the benefit of the doubt, and the SEC has laid an egg throughout this playoffs. I mean, Texas A&M put up 3 points in their home playoff game against Miami. You had Oklahoma, completely laying down in the second half against Alabama. Oklahoma still without a playoff win in their history, and that used to buoy the Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 is 1-7 now historically in the college football playoff, but it's hard to gauge the Big 12 because it's changed so much. So it's almost like taking the record for the Big 12 in the playoff is completely moot because the Big 12 looks a lot different. I think moving forward, even though Texas Tech lost and didn't score in their game and looked really pitiful on offense, the evaluation needs to be beyond, as Paul, as you alluded to, not just conference affiliation, because again, the SEC is getting the benefit of the doubt and they continue to show that they shouldn't have. I mean, 5 teams this year, 5 of the 12 were SEC teams, and they get 1 to the semifinal. Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. I mean, 5 teams couldn't make it past 2 rounds. That's ridiculous, and shows again that the SEC is not nearly as good as it used to be, but yet it's still, going off of the wind from where it used to be. And again, the Big 12, for some reason, is completely overjudged on 1 game. The SEC sent 5 teams, and nobody's batting an eye at how bad their record was and is in this playoffs. The 4th seed in the SEC is the one to make it through, and it's improbable that they're doing it.
Ari, with Texas Tech, I mean, they've already attacked the portal. They've got big time commitment list already starting to build up here, led by Brendan Sorsby. You mentioned the defense played really well in that game. The offense obviously needs some tweaks, and they're addressing that. But what did you come out of that thinking about Texas Tech, where they stand in the overall conversation and what they need to do to close the gap even further?
Yeah, great question, Craig. I don't know that we properly evaluated the quarterback position for Texas Tech. I think we thought it was a weakness, but we weren't we didn't notice how much of a weakness it was until it went up against a truly elite defense that Oregon had. I think Oregon, obviously confused Barrett and Morton throughout the game. And anytime they had a drive going, it was because of their running game. And then when they put the ball in Barron's hands, he just couldn't make a play. And, and in many situations, he threw the ball to the other team. I mean, he was really dreadful. And he pretty much gave them zero chance to win the football game. You could tell in the second half that Oregon was taking their foot off the gas on offense because they didn't want to make the play on offense that allowed Texas Tech's defense to score, because they knew Texas Tech's offense couldn't score. So, Oregon lived in 3rd and 4th and short. And yet despite that, Texas Tech still made plays, had an interception in this game, had some sacks. I mean, you just couldn't ask Texas Tech's defense to do anything else other than score. It was a really tough game to watch. Obviously a really tough game from the Big 12 because you felt really good about where Texas Tech was, but they need better quarterback play. Now, Brendan Sorsby, who, they're adding in the portal for, reportedly $5 million, has been really good, but has faded down the stretch in the last 2 seasons. And, maybe it's Scott Satterfield, maybe it's the players around him. They had a really good offensive line this year. They had a really good running game. It wasn't the same issues that seemed to plague Cincinnati down the stretch of the season last year. So, that's certainly one thing that, like, we're familiar with Brendan Sorsby. We know what to expect. Now, maybe, if he fades down the stretch of next season, maybe that's at a point in time where Will Hammond is healthy enough to come back. And, you can't help but wonder if Will Hammond had been healthy, would at some point in the Orange Bowl, they have gone to him. But, the biggest disappointment that I have with Tech now as they build their team for next season is, they've added, it looks like, multiple players out of the Big 12, almost a Big 12 all-star team with Austin Romaine from Kansas State. Looks like they're going to add the stud pass rusher freshman from Oklahoma State, Wendell Price. My biggest concern was, why didn't they add the Baylor offensive lineman, not Colton Price, not Wendell Price. What's
Wendell Gregory?
Thank you, Wendell Gregory. I had Colton Price and Wendell Gregory's names in my mind. My biggest concern is, why didn't they add Colton Price if they're going to add all the best Big 12 players in the portal?
Yeah, you know what? I think a bunch of people had that thought initially with Sorsby committing, and then Austin Romaine, obviously. And then it looked like they were rumored for Amarion Miller there for a second, but he ends up at ASU. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, now they're rumored for Gregory. And I see very pro Big 12 names that want, they're like, no, we need Tech to be a dominant, and, we need them to be as good as possible. And it's but at the expense of everybody else, I don't know, man. I think you go get the best players available, and I don't fault Tech for that at all. But I think it's fair to go, is this good for the league if that's what it turns into, where basically the all Big 12 team is like a feeder system for Texas Tech? So, I don't know if we're there yet, but I do feel like the way it started, that was an easy thing to start start wondering about a little bit.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting, Craig, that you framed it that way, because initially my thought was, this is good for the Big 12 because a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
But I think you raise a good point there. Yeah, it's about acquiring the best players, but at some point, if you're constantly just poaching the best players out of the Big 12, are you allowing other Big 12 teams to float in the rising tide that's lifting all boats? It's a great question. I do wonder, is it good for the Big 12? Wouldn't it be better for the Big 12 if Texas Tech is poaching the best players out of the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 10, or at least some of those players? They did add Trey White, not the Kansas basketball player, but the San Diego State pass rusher, who has 29 and a half tackles for loss and 19 and a half sacks over the last 2 seasons. Ultimately, so to your question, it's great food for thought. My initial thought again was, a rising tide lifts all boats. So it's a good thing. And look, as much as Texas Tech can help to lift the profile of the Big 12, that's going to be a positive. I do again think, despite the goose egg on the scoreboard for Texas Tech, I expect them to be really good again next year. And I think once, 2 straight years of this, and people are going to become more and more familiar with them being an elite program, which means, that perception is going to change. But yeah, I do think, you're onto something there with it can't just be a feeder system. Now, I also think there's a little bit of circumstance here that's playing into this. Not like Tech wouldn't go after some of these players, but Iowa State lost their coach. A lot of those guys are going to join him in Penn State. right? So, but normally in a normal year, we haven't seen Iowa State lose a ton of players. In a normal year, we haven't seen Kansas State lose a ton of players. Change over at coaching there. I think that allows for Austin Romaine to maybe, look for a landing spot somewhere else. Oklahoma State is coming off 2 straight years where they haven't won a Big 12 game. I could see the allure for Wendell Gregory, to transfer. So I think in context, some of this stuff matters. Like I think Oklahoma State's the potential surprise team next year with Mestamaker and with Eric Morris in tow. So maybe they're better off next year and not in a position to lose so many players. So I think there is some important context this year that plays into why so many Big 12 players are going to Texas Tech.
All right, one more question for Ari. Craig?
Ari, you mentioned the rising tide lifts all boats, and then the people can, knock Tech for their goose egg. But remember when people thought Clemson sucked in Dabo's early years? Like, oh, they're not good. They haven't done this first time that they've done it. I think the other good thing, and now this is kind of maybe a very callous way to do it, but Texas Tech is setting the standard for the rest of the conference of this is where you have to be if you want to compete with us. So figure it out. Like it's not nebulous. Like like if you want to financially keep pace, Yeah,
it's the price to do a business, Paul. It's a great point. Like whether or not you have the money doesn't really matter. What matters is there is clearly a price that is a threshold for competing at a certain level in college football. And there's going to be anomalies, right? Like there's always going to be anomalies, but there's always a threshold. What's really interesting too about this whole conversation is Indiana in the 2025 transfer portal cycle was ranked 25th for their transfer portal haul. In 2024, they were ranked 30th. So for whatever reason, 247 is improperly evaluating the Indiana transfer portal because they are in 2 straight years far exceeding what the expectations are for those players. So, and look, Indiana is spending money. I'm not trying to say they're not, but I also think like what Tech did was not just spend money, it was spend the right money. Because when you look at the transfer portal classes and the rankings over the last 2 seasons, like there's clearly some teams that spent money the right way and clearly some teams that spent money the wrong way. And there's clearly teams like Oregon that are on that list in the top 5. There's LSU, that are recruiting at a high level too. So I think when it comes to like teams like in the Big 12 that are not blue chip ratio teams that are, that are going to have to live in some respects in the portal off of the G6 or, finding diamonds in the rough from the Power 5 or the Power 4, there is a certain price and threshold you got to get to that most of the Big 10 and the SEC are getting to. And it appears that the Big 12 has a few players in that pool, but not as many as it probably needs to.
Thank you, buddy. It's great to see you. Glad you survived Miami for that game with Oregon and Texas Tech. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, everything about the game was fantastic until it started.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Until Texas Tech had to put the ball in the hands of their offense.
Yeah, appreciate Ari as always. Good conversation. And, I think Tech's off to a really good start. BYU getting some good news. We didn't get to it in the headlines, but Isaiah Glasker, another guy coming back. And I think I want to be very clear on my Texas Tech thoughts here. I think when the portal opened and they got Romaine and Sorsby, and you saw the Miller lean and the Gregory lean, and you go like, damn, are they going to put it together this way? Now, they're not getting Miller, but they're probably going to get Gregory. I'm not saying they're doing that, but I'm saying that it shaped up to look like that's what was happening, and that's where the whole question came from. And I know that I'm not the only one that immediately my mind went there going like, wait a second, are they just going to take like the all Big 12 squad here? And clearly not. They've got Coy Petrich, I think the big-time safeties on campus right now. They've got a lot of other guys from around the country. But, yeah, Sorsby and Romaine were 2 big gets, and then Gregory would be another one amongst whoever else they end up adding. So, yeah, not saying that is what's happening, but it started off that way, and that's where the thought comes from, just to clear up maybe any confusion on kind of the angle we're talking about here. So
yeah, you're in or you're not, and if there's going to be a separation. You're right. You wonder how many of the 16 teams in the Big 12 do you think are really committed to NIL and the transfer portal and adding people to their roster? Good people who can compete with Tech and BYU.
I don't know if it's about who's committed or who can be. Like,
That's okay.
Who can be? Because I think most of them would love to be committed, but there's also a line in the sand that you can either get to or you can't. So you can either find the money or you can't find the money. And that's where we are right now.
But don't blame those who can, and don't blame those who are. But it is an interesting look at a topic of conversation. When we come back, it's Jake Butt, former Michigan player and also a part of the Big Ten Network. He's next. This is 365 Sports. I went by Don Humidor Coffee Beans on Saturday. Cheyenne was there and spoke with her for a little bit. I had played around at golf. I wanted to get some more cigars for just later on, and went inside the 48-foot walk-in humidor, and I said, okay, I want 2 of these. I want 2 of these. Romeo and Julieta are Tua Fuente. They have Cohiba. They have Padron. They have Rocky Patel. And I got a couple of the brand. It's called My Father, which is a very highly rated brand. And I like the Churchill length cigars, the longer cigars, because when I'm playing golf, I'll be smoking. It's just that's what I like to do. It allows me to relax while playing a game and a hobby that I love so much. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans can help you out. You could also go to donhumidorwaco.com and order and use the code word SMOKEY, SMOKEY, and get percentage off of your order that you put in the cart. They have what you need if you smoke cigars, from putting the cigars in the humidor to keep them fresh. They have lighters and cutters and more. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans inside the 48-foot walk-in humidor between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
At BK Ford, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK Ford can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK Ford.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
So it's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
This is 365 Sports.
365 Sports at 4 o'clock hour. Jake Butt, former Michigan tight end and a part of the Big Ten Network. A Michigan man with us on 365 Sports. Great to have you. I know it's been a crazy football season with the Michigan stuff, but also just the fact that the Big Ten now, with team will play in the college championship game, whether it's Oregon or Indiana. Let's start with Kyle Whittingham. He's there. I think it's like somebody fell in their lap after the meltdown and drama yet again at the end of the year. When you heard that he was maybe the next guy, because we didn't know who it was going to be, what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was excited, and I you're exactly right. It almost seemed that Whittingham fell right in their lap, because if you just break this down in simple terms, Michigan fires Sharon Moore. They have a coaching vacancy. So whenever you have a coaching vacancy, you want to go out and hire the best possible candidate. Well, he was really the best possible candidate, and that was before you even knew that Michigan was going to move on from Sharon Moore. I think if you talk to most people and coaches that understand and follow college football, they would consider Coach Whittingham a top 5 or 10 coach in all of college football. So just off that perspective, slam dunk hire, but also just the philosophy. Michigan has a specific winning formula. They want to run the ball. They want to win at the line of scrimmage. They want to play great defense and be disciplined. That's the exact formula that Coach Whittingham followed at Utah. And the benefit for him is when you look at his rosters at Utah, they really averaged like a mid-40s in terms of talent composite, never had a top 30 roster in terms of talent composite. Now you're going to Michigan, where he'll have talent that he's not used to having at Utah. So for his career, it'll be an opportunity for him to see, is he a national championship coach or not? I believe that Michigan feels he is, and he's going to give him a good chance to compete for those national titles.
Jake, what is going to be a harder job? I mean, this is a team that won 9 games last year in spite of a ton of stuff going on in the background that I wouldn't wish on any program in the world. With the uncertainty about Sharon Moore and gossip and all these different things. Is it the football, or is it rebuilding the culture there that is I mean, you hear Biff Poggi talk about it. It was very fractured.
Yeah, the way I look at it is that, you can't rush rebuilding the culture, their perspective. And I think that's the other part of this hire is Coach Whittingham has decades of equity built up with the college football community of just being an outstanding person. And really, there's no substitute for time. So all he needs to do is come in and be who he's been his entire life and his entire career. And over time, this past will be behind Michigan. It's kind of a similar situation to Dusty May in basketball. When they moved on from Juwan Howard, that wasn't a clean divorce. There was a lot of drama and off the field stuff with Juwan Howard, but now the only thing anyone talks about as far as Michigan football goes is how good of a coach Dusty May is and how good of a team Michigan basketball is. That was the idea behind doing a top-down investigation of the athletic department, how the whole process with Sharon Moore was made and done. You wanted this to just be a clean break. Let the past be the past and let the future be the future. And I think over time, if Michigan gets back to winning football games, we're not really going to be talking about Sharon Moore this past season anymore.
Jake, how much of a question mark did you have about Bryce Underwood and what his future would look like? And now that it's looking like it's official, he's heading back to Michigan. Your thoughts on that?
Look, I mean, he's clearly talented, but he's young. And I think you saw both of that this fall. He's 18 years old, made some really awesome plays that would get anybody excited, but also showed his youth. I think the big problem is he just didn't take strides. He wasn't properly developed. You saw the same mistakes in the Texas Bowl game that you saw week 1. So I think that's the biggest priority. And I like the offensive coordinator that they brought in. I like the quarterback coach that they brought in. I just think having stability around Bryce is going to allow him to take strides as a player. But you can't substitute coaching. I mean, you can look all across college football. It's not a mystery that the best quarterbacks go to coaches that have a history of developing quarterbacks. I mean, look at Indiana with Cignetti. Every quarterback that has played under Cignetti has competed for a Heisman or an offensive player of the year. It's really important that Whittingham gets Bryce Underwood close to his potential, which will allow them to sell that Michigan is the place to go for future talented quarterbacks.
What are your thoughts with Cignetti and Oregon about to play again? They won the game in Eugene. It is a phenomenal story, Jake. It's incredible. And yes, things have changed in college football, but your thoughts about what Cignetti, his confidence, and his system that's working so well?
I mean, it's remarkable. It's the greatest turnaround, I think, in all of sports. I mean, when he took over Indiana, they were the losingest college football team in history. They were the losingest college football team in history. And he stood up there boldly and said, we're coming after you, Ohio State, and you, Michigan, and we're going to go compete for titles, and we're the emerging superpower. And everybody laughed. Like, they thought it was funny. Like, what does this guy know? And yet everything he said has come true. It's almost been prophetic to watch him. And even this win over Alabama, you're talking about Indiana, the losingest program in college football when he took over, meets Alabama, like the standard of excellence over these past few decades, and ran them off the field. It's absolutely remarkable. Oregon, I think these are the two best teams in college football. It's Oregon and it's Indiana. It was a great game earlier in the year when they played. I think these are two of the best quarterbacks in college football. This is just going to be an outstanding matchup. Unfortunately for Oregon, we just found out that they had a number of running backs enter the transfer portal, and their top running back, Jordan Davison, the freshman, is injured and likely to miss this game. So that's really, really unfortunate for Oregon because right now Indiana is healthy and peaking, and you really need all hands on deck to have a chance of beating the Hoosiers.
What surprises you the most about, look, everybody's kind of having built through the transfer portal and that. How has he been able to get them on the same page so fast, Curt Cignetti at Indiana? Yeah, I think more teams are going to follow his formula because he clearly has a certain type of player in person that he goes after in the portal. And usually, he said this from the jump, he wants production over potential. He doesn't care if you are a 4-star or a 5-star that didn't play at Georgia. He wants a guy from JMU that has proven production. And the reason is he feels great about his staff, his defensive coordinator, Bryant Haynes, his offensive coordinator, Coach Shanahan. Those guys have been with him for nearly a decade. He wants proven veteran players that can grasp the scheme that he has implemented at Indiana, that he can trust to execute at a high level and not make young mistakes. I think that's really the secret. Is he has a great staff, a great system, but he's prioritized experienced veteran players that can come in and grasp his system right away. If you just look at execution, they out-executed Alabama, they out-executed Ohio State, they out-executed Oregon in the first matchup. This is the best coached football team in college football in all three phases. And again, like Cignetti, when he came in, and I've called some of his games, he has thought of everything. He has a plan and a vision from day one for what success looks like at Indiana. To come in and execute this turnaround, it's simply remarkable. And I hope we have a Netflix documentary or a movie about it one day because it's just been a joy to watch.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I am sure we will, especially if they win that national championship. That's a story that must be made and talked about further. Big picture. A lot of talk about parity, and when you look at this Final Four, a lot of talk about the end of the SEC's dominance, even though Ole Miss still has a crack, and the Big Ten with half the Final Four looking at maybe a third straight national title. Jake, when you look at this landscape, how much parity do you see? How good do you think it is for the game, and what do you most attribute it to?
Well, it's great for the game. The product is improved, the talent level is improved. One of the benefits is, a guy like Chambliss with Ole Miss. I know he's waiting on his approval from the NCAA, but he has made the commitment. If he gets approved, he's coming back to Ole Miss. In my time before NIL, that guy's going to the NFL. But now you get guys that might be on the border of going to the NFL or not. They stay in college. So just the level of player, the quality of player is improved. And then the disbursement of talent. When I was being recruited, Alabama had a monopoly on 4-stars and 5-stars. Their second unit would probably be one of the best teams in college football. But nowadays, if you're a talented player, you're not sitting on the bench. You're going to where you can play immediately. And I just think that's what you're seeing. That's why a team like Indiana is able to turn their program around. That's how Oregon's able to compete immediately under Dan Lanning. That's how USC was able to be a competitive team when Lincoln Riley comes in there. I think it's healthy for college football. College coaches, it's stressful. I got to imagine it's extremely stressful. They get paid the big bucks, but the parity is undeniable at this point. Each year it seems like we're seeing more upsets and high quality football. And, as a fan of college football, I think it's fun to watch.
So you have these four teams. You have Miami, the ACC, which of course had a weird ending with who played for the championship. It was Miami going to get in. They did. They've proven they should be. And then Ole Miss, you mentioned the story there. And with all the drama with the staff, who's there, who's not, Charlie Weiss and other assistants. And then you have the Big Ten. How much of a bragging rights is it now with the Big Ten having Michigan win it all and Ohio State winning it all. And someone's going to play for the championship game. And the SEC is maybe going to be blocked out if Ole Miss doesn't win.
It is. It's bragging rights. I mean, I could just tell you, because I was on the other side of that. I was at Michigan when it was Alabama and Georgia, and then you occasionally sprinkled in Clemson. Ohio State had some success, but the SEC ran college football, and they let you know about it. Paul Feinbaum, he would let you know about it. The coaches would let you know about it. The fans would let you know about it. It wasn't just success. They'd call you soft. They say you weren't fast enough. It just means more, all that. Well, now the pendulum has swung back a little bit, and it's really the Big Ten that's running college football. And, the thing about today is social media keeps receipts. So you have different SEC coaches and athletic directors and SEC commissioners that's saying, hey, we should have 7 SEC teams in the college football playoff. We see the bowl record. That's not the case. We all watch the game. That is not the truth. So it's an arms race, man. I mean, it's not just an arms race within each conference. It's an arms race across college football to maintain and build reputation. Your success today is a predictor of your success tomorrow, because you're constantly selling yourself, your team, your staff, your conference to future recruits and future coaches as well. Right now, like the Big Ten, if you can make it 3 in a row, there's really not an argument. Look at the Big Ten's bowl record and head-to-head against the SEC. It'd be really hard for anyone to argue. And I've even heard Paul Feinbaum say this. He said it's almost undefendable. It'd be really hard to argue against that the Big Ten runs college football at this point.
Jake, I think this is certainly their era, their moment right now, where they have shifted the narrative, but also sometimes a conference benefits you. Michigan doesn't make Nebraska better necessarily. Chasing them might, right? That might trying to figure that out, but you still have to have the people in place. So it's more about what the conference is doing to benefit their teams in the best ways, and who organizationally is running those things, right?
Well, yeah, I do think there's carryover, because, the TV deals, those sprinkle on down. You're talking about $100 million a piece for Big Ten teams. Then you get the college football playoff bonuses. I mean, that's real money that gets dispersed to those schools and the conference as a whole. It's brand awareness. And then, to your point, a school like, a Nebraska or in Iowa, those schools, when they were in the Big Ten West, all they had to do was just be better than the rest of the Big Ten West. So that's kind of relatively low bar when you think about the top of college football. Well, then the Big Ten does away with the East and West side of the conference. They just go coast to coast. And all of a sudden, it forces a school like Nebraska or Wisconsin or Iowa or Indiana, however you want to say it. Those schools, if you do not spend, if you do not commit resources, if you do not go out there and fight for your life to attract talent on your coaching staff and on your roster, you're going to get left behind. And we know that there's an economic loss for that as well. When you are losing on the football field and in athletics, that means people aren't going to want to go to your school. They're not going to apply for your school. Your admissions will be down. Your applications will be down. Your revenue will be down. So, I mean, I saw a story. I can't remember who wrote it, but when Nick Saban went to Alabama and had the success he had, there was a measurable, a multi-billion-dollar measurable effect on the GDP of the entire state of Alabama on top of the university. That's what we're talking about here. Indiana, I mean, whatever they've spent on Cignetti and that staff, they've recouped it in apparel sales, applications from people, brand awareness. This is a real thing in terms of college football and the visibility and the marketing. It's just an arms race across the board.
Jake, if you don't mind, your thoughts about what the Big 12 has done. Again, Texas Tech, they laid an egg offensively against Oregon in Miami, but they are making an inroad. And you even see they're getting guys. And, of course, they've got a commitment. They've got the NIL, and they also right now have momentum. But that wasn't a very good look offensively. Your thoughts about what the Big 12 has with Texas Tech, BYU, and others who are trying to stay in the game and where they are?
Yeah, again, these things take time. And I remember when Urban Meyer joined the Big Ten, and he had early success at Ohio State. And then there's a famous story where Ohio State wasn't playing in the postseason, and he watched Alabama play Notre Dame, and Ohio State had a great season. But he texted his entire staff and his entire team and said, "Listen, we're chasing them now." Them meaning Alabama. Like, you guys think you did good enough? We're not even close. We need to get bigger, faster, stronger. We need better facilities. We need more resources. And I think that's the takeaway here with the Big 12. Texas Tech, they're proving to the Big 12 that when you spend, good things will happen. You're going to have a chance to compete for national titles. And that should therefore trickle on down throughout the conference. But again, it's competitive. All of this is relative too. I hear different programs say all the time, well, hey, we need to upgrade our O-line. We just need to spend more. Well, everyone's thinking about spending more. So somehow you have to spend more relative than the rest of the schools and universities that are spending. Again, it comes down to a commitment, not just for the talent on your roster, but clearly coaching matters. You have to be willing to shell out cash to bring in coaching, GMs, visionaries that are able and understand how to adapt with a quick changing college football landscape. Again, I just think that's the fun part of this too, is each year it seems like there's some new storyline, some new sweeping change that teams have to adjust to. It allows for a fresh look on a year in, year out basis. But yeah, man, if you're stagnant, if you are unwilling to change, you're going to die in this environment. And, Texas Tech is leading the Big 12 in terms of they're willing to spend and do whatever it takes to win. And now they know, hey, we got to upgrade on the offensive side of the ball and at the quarterback position if they want to get to the next level.
Jake, thank you. Great to have you on again. I always appreciate it. What you did at Michigan, what you're doing for the Big Ten Network, and also we'll have a Big Ten team. They're going to be in the championship game, whether Indiana and or Oregon. Have a great rest of your week, and also Happy New Year.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Happy New Year. Good to see you.
Jake Butt, Michigan. And a lot of – so I knew that question would scratch an itch. With what the Big Ten has done. Now, winning the national championship doesn't mean your conference is better, but hey, they've got some great momentum with what they've done. And right now they do seem to have the edge as the best conference in America. And one team will be playing, no matter who it is, Indiana or Oregon, for the national championship in a couple of weeks. The bragging rights thing, and he's lived it, as he said. And I thought his answer was, I didn't know what he was going to say, but I had an idea he would want to talk about it. All right, we continue. We have our college football picks down to just 2 games sometime this week. Craig, we're going to do Big 12 Mojo next week, or is that done?
I'm going to wait and do that after the season. The portal slows down a little bit. It's kind of impossible to do it when we're right in the thick of movements. I mean, it's
a team could be 10th in Mojo today because they had no commitments, and then tomorrow they could get 11 at once.
Yeah. So I that's not going to be a recurring thing much more than one more time. But we'll let the portal slow down, and I'll put a final capper on 2025, so to speak, with the final Mojo rankings.
So the portal closes at like the 16th. But that doesn't mean that you have everybody or that everybody's going to have signed by then. But you got to get into a school because the semesters are all starting here. In some cases, they already have. All right, we continue. Craig will have
semesters?
What
are semesters?
So, Garrett, what are semesters?
I forgot. I don't know they exist anymore.
They're a part of the academic calendar. There is a
what is academics?
Semester. Oh, that's true. There's Seth Greenberg got hot about that last week. So there is the spring semester, and then there's usually 2 summer mini-mesters, and then you have the fall semester that is supposed to start sometime around August and or September. But you're right. I don't even know what academic requirements or anything like that means. Seth was hot. I asked him about getting a degree. What do you mean? I said, does it really matter? Yeah, you hope it does, and I think it does for most, but you wonder because of all the transferring. How are the compliance departments keeping up with the progress towards a degree?
Well, when 95% of them are general studies, I don't think it's that difficult to probably transfer some of that. And I don't really want to get into the conversation too much because it's pointless, because there's inevitably somebody who doesn't care, think academics matters, that doesn't care to hear the argument. And then there's a bunch of people who know that it does to some degree, that have no patience or time for the people who think that school's pointless. So it's really a pointless conversation to have because we'll just spin ourselves in circles.
Well, look, it means different things to different people.
Different people, yeah.
And it is. So, okay, I will answer your question very easily about how compliance does it. So you don't have to ever ask that again. Computers! It's all in a computer.
I know you say that, but you're right. I get it. But I still wonder about how many are like right now transferring 2, 3, 4 times. And yes, computers keep up with what they're doing, but how many of those credits are real? You know what I mean? I wonder how they're doing that. For example, if you've been to 4 schools in 4 years, you put up in the computer, whatever. I just don't think that that's accurate all the time, and I wonder if computers is enough to keep up with them.
That's on the schools who give them inaccurate credits. But as far as the compliance department's job is, if you're the 3rd school out of 3, and Jacksonville State was 2 schools ago, and they say that you completed this year and you had a 2.9 GPA, that's all that matters, because you're not going to go Columbo it and find out that, like, oh, this class, they know what classes transfer and don't. They always have. So this class transfers, this class doesn't. They have a computer program that tells it. The bigger thing is how do you encourage people to pursue the degree, because professional sports is not a guarantee. Yeah. Because this is finite. That's the bigger issue.
Yeah. I wonder also how many of the credits actually do transfer. That's another thing. But yes, computers. All right. Speaking of, by the way, Case Evans is a quarterback at Lexington High School who was committed to Iowa State. Matt Campbell, when he took the job at Iowa State, I spoke with his coach today by email back and forth, Kurt Moll, and he now is a part of Penn State. He's a part of that class, the quarterback out of Lexington High School here in Texas. Craig Smoak around the corner with Off the Radar, a few other college football notes to get to. This is 365 Sports. And Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marcos.com. 5 locations here in the Waco area, Central Texas, off I-35. And yet it's the fastest growing pizza brand in America. So most likely there's a Marco's Pizza near you. Go online, Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. And find all of the specials. There's always something. In fact, I right now, what I'll do, I'm going to go online right now as I'm talking about them, and I bet there will be a big, huge picture of a pizza that is on sale or for a pretty good price. I got to accept the cookies first. Right now, medium one-topping pizza is only $8.99. The pepperoni, the large Magnifico with pepperoni everywhere, $12.99, and the Craver Saver with pizza and chicken nuggets and more available at Marco's Pizza. Deals you can count on. Taste your craving, or fix your craving, or handle your craving at Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
This is 365 Sports.
Transfer portal news of what we haven't discussed, what we need to discuss, and even other updated news as well. By the way, thank you for your time, 365 Sports. If you're in the chat room or not, watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button. And if you have not subscribed to us, we would appreciate it if you do, or pass it along to somebody else. Craig, you had mentioned one of the bigger names or biggest news today involving BYU, not done yet, as that's a big-time keep for them.
Yeah, I'm not so sure this shouldn't have been one of like the top 2 or 3 stories we talked about. I think it's that significant that BYU has been able to basically keep all of their best players despite the coaching changeover on defense, and to have Isaiah Glasgow, a guy who very easily could have gone off to the NFL or and will be in the NFL one day, but somebody who could have gone and followed Jay Hill to Michigan like a lot of these other guys have. I mean, this is a guy who on a very good BYU defense has been arguably their best player most, if not all, that time. So he's coming back for his senior year, 2-year starter, insanely good player, and a crucial part of that defense. And I think that this is absolutely massive news for BYU. And you look at the list of guys, and I need to pull it up because it's quite lengthy, but there's double-digit players that possibly could have left for the NFL or left to Michigan that are all coming back. I mean, Falatau, Satuala, the Parker Kingston one's mentioned on the list that I brought up. I never thought like Parker Kingston was going to, especially with Chase Roberts leaving, I didn't have any thoughts that Parker Kingston wasn't going to be back. I was more or less worried about the defensive guys, but Trey Alexander's coming back. I just mentioned Keanu Tanuvasa is another guy, and there's some I'm going to leave out here, just kind of riffing them off my head. But they've had a number of returns on the O-line. A guy like a Parker Kingston as well at wide receiver. If you did have doubts about him, I just kind of always assumed he'd be back. But especially with Chase Roberts gone, that's absolutely massive. And then defensively, I mean, pretty much everybody coming back that you could have wanted to come back. So, yeah, this was one of those remaining decisions, and absolutely huge news for BYU. And they're going to be set up really well next season, because this team they had this year will lose a Chase Roberts, LJ Martin, but I think that the defense will be even nastier. I guess there could be some changeover, which you just don't know with the new DC, but I know that Satake will bring in a bunch of guys who know the lay of the land and won't skip too much of a beat, and they'll have a lot of talent at their disposal. So, yeah, I think this is one of many big announcements BYU's had, but this is a really big one, and so good for them.
Yeah, it's great for them to get such an impactful leader back on their defense and a stud player back on the team. So, it's really good. BYU is never a team that I expect to see a mass portal exodus from. No. Just because it's kind of maybe a different level of commitment when you decide to go to school there because of all the things that go with it. And again, they lost to one team this year in the regular part of the season. That was Tech twice before the bowl game. So they're set up for success for a long time. The culture is great there. The coach is fantastic. The program has, the outside of the program, the money people have now, kind of committed to, fully financially supporting whatever they need and they want. So, yeah, I wouldn't leave if I was a BYU player.
Yeah, so that's a great pick. Pick. It's like an NFL free agent re-signing that could have gone into the open market. So BYU taking care of their business.
Could have gone to the NFL draft. I mean, that's where he's going to be. So, yeah, he could have very easily gone to the draft, and I think it remains to be seen who they might pick off of the Utah roster, just with the changeover there as well. I think they've got a lot at their disposal now with the Satake situation settled and a very clear vision for the future, and a lot of people in place that stand to be in place for quite a while. So I think besides Texas Tech, they are pretty clearly the team you look at and you go, who can compete year in and year out, not have to like reset every couple of years to raise the money back up, but who's got like the unlimited ATM basically, and who's got the culture established. And I think prior to Joey and Texas Tech, I mean, there's arguably no better culture than what Satake had built at BYU. I think Tech now has the ability to talk about that as well. And so that's part of what can lead you to believe that those two will be kind of running the show in this league for a while. And we'll see if anybody else, for example, steps up and gives Kenny Dillingham his $10 million a year to go buy a roster, or if some random TCU alum hits the AI lottery or something, and they've suddenly got $100 million to just burn every year or whatever. But yeah, BYU and Texas Tech are set up very well, to the point of we'll probably hear people turning on them because it's going to get really old if Utah or somebody else doesn't step up every once in a while.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the guys who are doing well are so similar, and that like the differences between Kalani Sitake and Joey McGuire to me is Kalani Sitake has a very mellow like way about him. You know, he's calming. Like you talk to him, honestly, like he could, you know, be on like a sleep app where he just like tells you like, hey, everything's gonna be fine. Go to sleep. Like you're protected and safe and everybody's happy and Jesus loves you kind of a thing. Joey McGuire's the alarm clock. Like one of them's like Joey McGuire is just loud and out there and in the space. But they are all about positivity and all about what's the next thing. Let's not dwell on the negative. Let's learn from it. Go, 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 go. So I don't think it's a coincidence that both of them are doing a good job of retaining players and people want to come and play for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're both rising to the occasion. They had a plan a couple of years ago. The story is there when it comes to Tech and BYU. Maybe not as much attention to it, but they are committed, as you know, and what they've done with men's basketball, with the Bansa and others. So they're at a really good spot.
Yeah,
very good spot.
Utah with the private equity money, we'll see what they do with that. And now the coaching changeover, I think they're in a position to establish themselves as a really solid contender year in and year out as well. But we'll see how the whole private equity thing unfolds and what that all looks like ultimately. I think though they're set up to where they could at least make some noise on occasion, and if not on a regular basis. Maybe Morgan Scalley's just as good, if not better, than Kyle Whittingham. We have no idea at this point, so we'll need some time to figure all that out. But yeah, you feel great about what's going on in Provo and Lubbock, and then there's other situations you feel pretty good about, but they don't have quite the backing, Arizona State, and we'll see if that changes. And then there's some that are just in weird positions right now that maybe have been contenders in the past, or stand to be, if they can unlock their potential, of contenders in the future. But if you're putting your money on the next 4 to 5 years on, hey, you can put your chips on a couple of squares here and pick how many football titles you think comes from this group of teams. I mean, I'm putting a lot of it, all of it, on Texas Tech and BYU moving forward. So we'll see who can disrupt that.
Who among, and it's another day topic, but of the 16 teams, you have what we now know at the top, and with the changes at Iowa State, K-State, Baylor, and Flux, they've signed 3 offensive linemen, including another one today in the portal. They're slowly getting some things done, but there's no banger that is going to catch much attention. TCU seemed like they're in a pretty good spot. Who is going to join them? Arizona State, I think, is, but Dillingham's always talking about, hey, we need a billionaire to come to help us here in Tempe and Phoenix. Who's going to join BYU and Tech to join the party and also the arms race?
I think it just depends on what the outside infrastructure is of who are the big money guys that have, that want to do it. Arizona State, I think their biggest problem is that they spent 25 years or so not asking. I mean, they don't have an alumni culture that has been maybe approached on that for such a long time. And now athletics has changed in a huge way, and it's very much the front door of your university, and it's very much, it needs to be paid attention to in a different way than you have in the past. So I think that their biggest thing is, and that's why he's out there saying, like, I know there's somebody who can pop a $20 million check or whatever he said. In Phoenix, Arizona, and Scottsdale, there's an Arizona State alum that probably is a big fan that has that kind of money, but he probably has not really been asked to that level before. It's just because they did kind of ride the wave a little bit with the football program for a long time.
All right, we continue this 4 o'clock hour. Craig Smoak just around the corner with Off the Radar. At 5 o'clock, Hall of Fame columnist John McClain on the NFL playoffs and more coaching staff changes. Head coaches getting fired, coordinators getting fired, and this is 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by...
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics, whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. Special is subject to credit approval and membership eligibility. Visit GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome into Off the Radar here on 365 Sports. Been a little while since we've done this segment, I guess, being on Tuesdays and Thursdays with the holidays, and time to take a look at just some things going on outside of our normal discussion here. And we will stick with college football, at least at the start, and then get into some NFL where there could be some news that affects college football in some ways. We will see how all that goes, but I want to start off with talking about some college football TV ratings, some absolutely massive numbers coming in for the college football playoff from this past week. The ESPN PR machine, quick to spit this out yesterday, but you had the 4 games all averaging nearly 16 million viewers per game, but in order, the highest rated and most watched game from last week was Alabama and Indiana, a peak of 25.6 million views for Hoosiers and Tide, 23.9 million the actual rating, but got all the way up to 25.6. And this is ESPN PR notes here, just to let you know. But most viewed CFP game of the 12-team era, past 18 of the previous 22 CFP semifinals, up 13% over year over year. So nearly 24 million average for Alabama, Indiana. Meanwhile, Ohio State and Miami in the Cotton Bowl. Miami's big win, 19 million viewers for that one, peaked at 21.6, up nearly 40% from last year's New Year's Eve quarterfinal. So a big spike there. Third, you had Ole Miss and Georgia, 18.7 million. At one point, got all the way up to 21.4 mil. That's up 18% year over year. And then, unfortunately, if you want to do the whole like conference affiliation thing, that Big Ten spot for Oregon doesn't look great. But when you got Indiana doing what they did and Ohio State doing what they did, like Big Ten's like, we're good here. But Oregon, Texas Tech, the only one that doesn't have like the little descriptions underneath of how it's up this many percentage points or how it's the most viewed, whatever. It just says 15.9 million viewers, 19 million viewers at the peak, and it's the only game that doesn't have any notes on it underneath. So I guess it didn't.
It was 11 o'clock kick.
It was. I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
So it was the early kick, and there was that, and it wasn't the most exciting game in the world, although it was a close enough game. Like a Tech scored at some point early enough. It would have been like, well, they're within reach. But yeah, it was more of a defensive game, which is probably not going to pull a lot of casual eyeballs. But for those that pay attention to such things, that was the lowest rated game, 15.9 million, got all the way up to 19. So it had the lowest overall rating, as well as the only game to not peak over 21 million at any point. So yeah, I guess digest that how you want to. But the Rose Bowl, most watched CFP game of the 12-team era, which, again, it's like 2 years of evidence, but they've got to advertise it a certain way. So there you go. Big ratings, 15.9 the low, 23.9 the high, and millions of people enjoying the playoff this past week.
So there seems to be a change in how they are looking at the numbers. This is real data, whatever, but they have changed it to now add what they call the big data panel, that they're now adding, incorporates smart TV sets, top box data with traditional panel homes, leading to higher, more comprehensive viewership numbers being reported.
For depending on who you are, it's also led to a lot of dips for other things that thought they had higher ratings than they did, and it turns out they actually have lower ratings than they thought. So it's not up across the board. I think sports, actual real sports, has benefited from it. I know like pro wrestling, the first couple ratings that came out, there's like 200,000 less viewers than they had been on average. And they're like, well, what is this going on? Like, what's happening here? But basically, instead of doing Nielsen, and this has been out for a while now, but instead of Nielsen having the one random guy in Kentucky and it's random people all over the place with their one TV set, and it's recording who they're watching, and they're filling out their little information sheets on what they watched and for how long and everything like that. But yeah, now with everything being digital, you got different ways to try and capture that. So it's a new formula that takes into account different ways of viewing. And I don't know how 100% accurate it is, but it has caused some fluctuations for the better and for the worse, depending on what kind of a program you are. And so far for live sports, it's been for the better.
Well, live sports, I mean, the way things are now, you don't have to watch anything that's not – I don't have to watch the season finale of a show live. I can go out to dinner. I can go do something else. Or instead of being, oh, man, my favorite basketball team is playing on this channel at the same time as this big event is going on, you can just watch the live sports event and watch the other thing later very easily. It's not like there is no challenge to it at all. So, yeah, so scripted shows and things like that are going to be watched later. But sports, which is what people talk about, it's something – it's a conversation piece. It's covered live, and so it's going to do better. And look, we've been in the ratings game and radio before, and whatever this is in YouTube, which is not really ratings, it's more views and all that. But the systems have always been flawed because they don't get certain groups. So if there's not a lot of women in an area, then they weight the women's thing, more. So and ethnic groups, all these different things. And then so you get these ratings, but it could be just one or two people that are listening or watching something like Craig mentioned, like these people sent away for the set-top box. The way it was always described to me, which I thought was the best, was it's like Charlie and Alan from 2.5 Men. Alan has no money. He sponges off his brother. He is a guy who has no life. And he would be the one who would fill out a Nielsen thing because he has time. Well, Charlie has a life and he has money. He watches sports, but he's not going to fill out a diary. So, now I think we're getting more real-time data.
When I was in radio in Tyler, I remember the owner of our radio station group they go to Nielsen, they look at the books, and there was numerous books, let's say females, mostly women, that would take a diary and run from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., just one big, huge arrow, because they were listening to music inside the office. And they would do that every day, 5 days in a row, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. That counted every single hour that they were listening, because the music was on in the background, which always kind of, to me, could change and fluctuate the overall number. Sorry, Craig, but just wanted to get into how it's changed in a good way. Like right now, we know exactly how many people are watching us, how many people have watched us at the end of 2 or 3 hours, and Andrew keeps up with that every single month.
So any thoughts on the numbers themselves?
It's unbelievable.
It's incredible.
And I don't it's a jump, but I think it was probably there's a jump, and I think it's increased over the year because people do like the playoff. But I do think it's probably not as big of a jump in reality as it was because of the way they collected the data. I think there was always a lot of people watching it, just their TVs didn't count.
Here's the thing. Indiana is not a blue blood, and they're in a game with 23, 4, 5 or million people because people love watching college football, and that was a huge game because of who they were playing too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Rose Bowl, and it's Alabama playing in it, but I also think that, as was described to us by our guest yesterday, that Indiana's got a pretty big fan base. We all just may not have been aware of it, and now they're out in full force. So they get the nearly 24 million average rating. Massive number, easily the most watched game, 19 for Ohio State, Miami, 18.7 Ole Miss, Georgia, and then the 15.9 Texas Tech and Oregon. So there you go with those ratings, and digest that however you choose to do so. Meanwhile, NFL playoffs are set, and we've got that starting up this weekend, but NFL got its own version of just kind of chaos as far as the season's still going on, but all sorts of other things happening now. At least in their case, the season's over for a lot of teams. And I guess technically in bowl season, the season is over for a lot of other teams. But it just seems more clean cut in the NFL when Black Monday arrives and all of these coaches' jobs start opening up and the playoffs begin. But we do have coming up on Saturday, I'll get more into this on Thursday, but games like Rams and Panthers and Packers and Bears got a triple header on Sunday, and then a Monday night game, which will feature the Texans against the Steelers. And last night, no Monday night game because everybody wrapped up. They try to have them all on the same schedule entering the postseason. But what you had in place of that was all of the firings going on across the league. And there are numerous head coaching jobs that have now opened up, as well as some very notable assistant coaching jobs that have also now opened up. And so I kind of want to start off, I guess, with just the teams that we follow most closely, and then I will get into the rest of the jobs that are opened up. But some big news today with the Washington Commanders is Dan Quinn's making some decisions that aren't all that popular, it seems like, with the fan base, and certainly are some decisions that are a sign that he's trying to hold on to his job for a little while longer, because the next head on the chopping block is going to be Dan Quinn's bald head if they don't improve. Yep. So in the meantime, Cliff Kingsbury now out as Commanders offensive coordinator, pursuing other opportunities. How I saw it phrased, and apparently some of the reporting was that Jaden Daniels, among others, isn't happy about this. Also that apparently Quinn and Kingsbury were not seeing eye to eye in terms of what they were wanting to do this past season. Certainly looked that way on the field. Now, granted, they were also dealing with Jaden Daniels' injury alongside various other issues. But, this was a big topic earlier today, and I believe will remain so throughout the offseason for Washington. But they're flipping over both coordinators as DC Joe Witt Jr. also out in Washington. So pressing a firm reset at OC and DC. You also had, I don't want to trickle too much into player news, but like Austin Eckler is not going to be on the, stuff like that's also going on. But I'm going to focus here on the coaches. And so your thoughts on Kingsbury out and Joe Witt Jr. also out.
Lee, he lost his star. Then now again, other teams lose their star quarterback and they keep on winning. But when Jaden Daniels got hurt and then he got hurt again, the Commander season was over. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury did a bad job. I just think he was, again, didn't have all what he needed, his magic. I hate it that he's leaving, but I think it also means he may be looking for an opportunity himself, which he's had in the NFL, did not work as a head coach. Maybe there's another opportunity for him in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they also fired their offensive line coach, so there's going to be complete turnover there, and I know he'll have other opportunities elsewhere, but I just don't know what those look like. He seems like he's a guy that probably wants to stick around the NFL. I don't know why in the world he would want to come back to college with the way it is right now. He just doesn't strike me as a guy that wants to have to deal with the portal and all of that craziness if he doesn't have to. So haven't looked much into who his suitors might be, but with all the head coaching changes, there will probably also be a lot of OC jobs that are opened up as well. So Commanders making a couple of big moves with coaching changes. The Cowboys, meanwhile, also making some moves. And, man, I just don't know how many times you do this before you go like, we're just doing the same thing every year and nothing ever changes. But Matt Eberflus out as defensive coordinator as Brian Schottenheimer announced that move. So Eberflus out, and I had seen a lot of hand-wringing about him. And I guess, Paul, your thoughts on the big change for Dallas here?
Well, I mean, they had no choice. They're the historically
I thought he would delay it, though, to get more attention.
Historically worst defense in Cowboys history, which is not all on Eberflus. Most of it is on the Jones family. But, again, you can't run it back when, it was so historically bad. And it was kind of a buddy hire from the Cowboys in the first place. They loved to bring back guys who were with them as younger coaches. Mm-hmm. They loved Matt Eberflus when he was their linebackers coach under Rod Marinelli. Loved Matt Eberflus. And then he got the defensive coordinator job with Indianapolis, and then he got the Bears job. And then when he became available, they're like, well, we can make him our defensive coordinator, because I think they had in mind that like Rod Marinelli would retire and then they'd have some sort of knighting ceremony and it would be Matt Eberflus. And that's not how it happened. And so they got to try to do that. They made a buddy hire, and it just wasn't the right fit. I don't know where Matt Eberflus stands as a coach in the league right now, if he's going to go back to being a linebackers coach, because he was really good at that. He was good at being a coordinator for a while, but they have to do it. They're going to say that, hey, we're going to bring in Brian Flores for an interview, even though he's probably going to get a head coaching job. We're going to call all these people, and then they're going to just settle on a guy who doesn't cost that much, because that's what the Jones family does.
Well, here's the thing about Eberflus. Remember, when he left Chicago, there were a lot of players that didn't want to be there anymore. So there's something going on with him and connection to players, because there never seemed to be one. They had a game 2 or 3 with Quentin Williams and a few things that looked like they'd caught a little magic after the trade. But, he has a disconnect that it looks like with the players, in my opinion.
So now more than a handful of head coaching jobs are open in the NFL. You have the coordinator spots that are open, but also the head coaching spots as well. The Raiders moving on from Pete Carroll, an absolutely disastrous, god-awful hire with the benefit of hindsight. And good news, the guy who helped hire him is also leading the charge for the next hire, and that guy's name is Tom Brady. So it would only be so Raider-like to go back to the well that put you here in the first place, but maybe that was just a one-off, and Brady's going to get the right guy this time. But the Raiders moving on from Pete Carroll and the absolute S show that the Raiders were this past season. The Titans also making a move. The Cardinals also making a move. The Falcons moving on as well. And you also have, in addition, the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants, all a part of this list. But now a really big one has joined that group, and I would have to think goes right to the very top of the list of the most coveted jobs, given that they've actually done something of note, and it's not the same 2 and 3 teams picking first in the draft, Raiders, Browns, etc., or firing and hiring another head coach, Raiders, Browns, etc. I mean, hell, throw the Titans in there at this point. They're constantly at the top of the draft these days. That never changes, but there is a big change that is happening now as the Ravens have made a move, and John Harbaugh is out as head coach after a lengthy and successful and championship-laden tenure there in Baltimore. They are moving on, and I don't blame them. I get it. This was kind of bubbling, and you could feel it, but still it's just pretty shocking to actually see it. So 18 seasons as head coach of the Ravens, John Harbaugh now out and joins the list of coaches that can now go be picked up elsewhere, but the Ravens now join the list, and like I said, probably go straight to the top of the most coveted open jobs.
I think when you've got Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, if you're thinking like, hey, we can get this guy or this guy, and then all of a sudden that's open, if you don't have somebody who's on the same page as Lamar, and all of these jobs that are open don't have somebody on the same page as Lamar, then that guy might go to the Ravens. Steve Bisciotti is a really good owner. He's been very loyal to his coaches. He's loyal to his players. The Ravens have a really good scouting department. Smokey, you said it during the break. You've got to eventually win a Super Bowl when you've got a quarterback
or get to one
with Lamar Jackson. They won in 2012 with Joe Flacco, obviously, but that's a long, long time ago. I don't think John Harbaugh is done. I don't think he's I just think it's just the time is over there in Baltimore, and I think he'll be a New York City resident pretty darn quick.
Well, Giants head coach? Yeah, that'd be a hell of a hire for them.
That would make a lot of sense. I mean, it's not like he forgot. It's just sometimes you're at a place for so long, and then you can't get over the hump. But also when you have Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in your conference, even though you have Lamar Jackson, that does make it pretty difficult.
Yeah, then 2 more notes to end up things here. One of these going back to college just because I don't know where else we'll fit it in. But West Virginia getting a big commitment just in the last half hour. But Cam Cook, Jacksonville State running back, who was at TCU prior to that, after a really successful year there at Jack State, he has announced his commitment to West Virginia. So one of the – I think he finished as the nation's leading rusher, if I remember correctly. If not, he was like number 2, but he was near the top, if not at the top of a lot of different categories rushing-wise this past season. So now bound for his 3rd school, but you had the quarterback pickup with Michael Hawkins yesterday. I think that's a guy that, like, at worst pushes Scotty Fox, and you have a quarterback battle, and those guys – iron sharpens iron kind of a situation. But I definitely think you have a surefire upgrade with Cam Cook now joining that backfield at the running back spot. So really like that one for West Virginia. And then tonight in college basketball, I know we haven't turned our attention towards college basketball. And, man, I got to tell you guys, with the portal in football, it's hard enough with, like, following along in college basketball and now adding G Leaguers and semi-pros or whatever you want to refer to guys as. Like, I don't know how much I'm going to have to offer, to be perfectly honest with you, with a lot of that stuff. But I will pass along things of interest, and I will poke my head in and pay attention from time to time. And I do think there's a game worth paying attention to later on tonight, and that is number 14 Texas Tech at number 7 Houston. It's an 8 o'clock tip-off on FS1 from the Fertitta Center. So top 15 matchup there with the Cougs and the Red Raiders later on this evening. And also have Duke Louisville and some ACC action, 6 o'clock on ESPN, so you can watch those back-to-back, and that's a pretty good night of hoops, and there's other games as well, but a couple top 25 matchups, and Tech Houston's always a lot of fun. So that is, again, coming your way later on tonight, 8 o'clock from H-Town.
You guys are welcome to come over to my house and play America's fastest-growing game show, at least among Kansas fans, is What's the Deal with Darren Peterson?
Yeah, they're hosting TCU tonight.
Yeah.
He had 20-something in a loss. Seemed like he seems like he's a yo-yo in a way with what he does with KU.
Look, I'm just saying, like, that is the way it feels to Kansas fans, and I've had it described to me by about 6 of them now, not just the one I lived with and her brother-in-law. It is like you're watching the most exciting movie you've ever watched, ever in your life, and then the theater just closes. And then you get like tonight, they're wondering like, hey, am I getting to see the whole movie now or no? And that's the anticipation is, do I get to see how the whole movie goes?
Darren Peterson is the player we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
Darren Peterson. Yeah, and he's absolutely unbelievably talented. He's fantastic, but
he's got him held hostage.
But he's got him held hostage. Yeah. And the thing that Bill Self, and he's towards the end of his career, obviously, he's always had guys that'll go to war for him, and that's how he's coached. He's got a bunch of those guys right now, but the best player is someone that nobody knows that about yet.
Yeah, and they do play later in the night. They are hanging by a thread in the top 25. They're at number 22 right now. But I was just specifically mentioning the top 25s. But, yeah, KU also in action later on tonight against, what is it? Is it UCF? I think it's TCU.
TCU. They lost to UCF the other day.
That's right. They lost to Johnny Dawkins and the Knights. Really good win for UCF. Really nice start to the season for them. But yes, you can watch Tech Houston and then also dabble with some Kansas TCU as well if that's your flavor. But there you go. There's a few things off the radar.
Thank you very much. Of course, Arizona, Iowa State, Houston, BYU, all inside the top 10. When we come back, Hall of Fame columnist John McClain on everything NFL, including what is called usually Black Monday. It is Black this week. This is 365 Sports.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics, whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
What does being different mean to me? That is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
This is the Sonos Arc Ultra, and this is what you need to know about. It represents one of the easiest ways to get into high-quality home cinema without loads of cables and faffing around. And that's because the Arc Ultra provides full Dolby Atmos without any rear speakers thanks to its sound motion technology. And Sonos is actually calling sound motion one of the most significant breakthroughs in audio engineering in nearly 100 years. It's an amazing setup. It sounds absolutely fantastic. I love the absence of fat. If you're a Sonos person, there's a reason you're watching this video.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
This is 365 Sports.
365 Sports, the 5 o'clock hour. Craig mentioned a lot of the NFL firings, and some probably that maybe if they're not fired today, they will be. But it usually all comes in one big chunk with a machete. And John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with all over the NFL. John, a lot of guys fired. Anybody in particular that surprised you? Was that Harbaugh, his time run out? You have to do something with, you have Lamar Jackson. And is anyone not fired yet that you were surprised you thought they would be?
The answer to the last question is Aaron Glenn in his first year with the Jets. They were totally pathetic. Got beat by at least 23 in their last 5 games. Quit on him. And I'm stunned. Now, if the Jets have a chance to get John Harbaugh, I'm sure they would fire him. What if the Dolphins have a chance to get Harbaugh? They'd probably fire Mike McDaniel. So I think even though there's a lot of speculation out there about Harbaugh and Tomlin and even Matt LaFleur, I didn't believe it, because what if Lamar Jackson had been healthy all season? That's the thing. Fans in Cincinnati wanted Zach Taylor fired. Well, his starting quarterback missed 9 games. Lamar Jackson hadn't been right most of the season. Cliff Kingsbury gets fired in Washington when his quarterback played 4 full games. Last year, he helped that rookie quarterback, Jake Daniels, go to the NFC Championship game, and now he's fired. And but I think the one that surprised me the most was Raheem Morris at Atlanta. They won their last 4. He'd only been there 2 years. They brought in a firm to analyze the organization. That is never good. And so they fired the head coach and GM, and I think that's a good job in Atlanta. Baltimore right now catapults to number 1 because they have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and a real good defense. And I feel even worse for the kicker, because after he blew that field goal and Baltimore lost to Pittsburgh, he was walking off the field, and John Harbaugh walked every step with him with his arm around him, talking to him. Well, I'm sure the kicker Tripp was crying, and they came into the tunnel and he went in the locker room. And I bet that kicker feels even worse.
How much does this accelerate the Giants maybe trying to hire John Harbaugh before the Jets or Dolphins make those decisions you talk about?
I think any team that's without a coach now, whether it's Tennessee, Giants, Raiders, all of them would have to call John Harbaugh's agent, assuming he has an agent. He'd been on the job for 18 years, but he got contract extension. He's got money left on his contract. He could take a year off, just like Kevin Stefanski could take a year off, like Mike Vrabel did last year. But I think that Harbaugh being available, even though he'd won 1 Super Bowl and they had not done well in the playoffs, the insiders say he got fired because he refused to fire his offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. And so I think I can't imagine a team needing a coach would not be interested in Harbaugh.
John, the Raiders, the Browns, every year they're at the top of the draft. I mean, it seems like, and now the Titans are on a little bit of a run, but nothing close to those other two. I mean, the Jets you could throw in there as well. Is it just ownership? Like, it has to be ownership at this point. That's the only place still left to look, right?
It all starts at the top. Do you have stability? The ideal owner, and I hate to say this for all your Cowboy fans listening, the ideal owner provides financial resources to the general manager and the head coach to make the moves they believe need to be made with coaches, personnel, scouting. And then the owner stays out of it. Wants to know what's going on, but doesn't mess in the personnel side of the organization. And that's the way it should be. And if your GM doesn't do the job the way you want, fire him and get another one. Same thing as the head coach. If the general manager comes to you and says, I think that Paul's just not getting the job done. He's been at Florida State long enough. He's an embarrassment to the university. There's no resemblance in him and Bobby Bowden. It's time for him to go. And so you get rid of Paul and you go hire somebody else. But not all teams, but some teams just don't operate like that, and they don't have consistent success.
One, Florida State is afraid of the level of success they would have if I was the head coach. Two, it's notable that you're just not a fan of economic efficiency, John, and telling that the Jerry Jones, with all of his knowledge, shouldn't just have both those jobs. It's worked out so well for them.
There would have to be, like, say, Jerry Jones. Jerry makes a lot of decisions based on money. He'll pay players, but he makes decisions based on money with his coaches, and that's never good because his franchise is valued higher than any franchise in the world, including all those Premier League soccer teams and all the soccer teams in Spain. And but he just he makes too many decisions based on that. Like right now, Jerry Jones should be talking to Stephen and Will McClain and saying, should we talk to John Harbaugh? Because obviously he's a better coach than Brian Schottenheimer. It wouldn't be good for Schottenheimer, but you don't get a chance very often to have a chance at John Harbaugh. But I doubt he'll do it because Harbaugh would cost a lot of money.
Yeah, and other than Parcells, has he ever paid what is the top part of the market for a head coach?
And even with Parcells, here's why he hired Parcells. Because Jerry told me this when I was at training camp with him one time. He wanted a new stadium. He knew it was going to be difficult, and they weren't winning. He needed to hire a coach that he thought would help us win, and that would be better, help him get public support, including tax dollars in Arlington, which I think they contribute real estate taxes in there. And so that's why he hired Parcells, and Parcells did get him to the playoffs. He helped Jerry get his stadium. But that's the only time that I can remember. And even then, we didn't go, oh, my God, I can't believe how much he's paying Bill Parcells, because Parcells wanted to keep coaching.
So the Commanders, it's not just all head coaching news. The Commanders move on from both their OC and DC. What do you think the market looks like as far as people wanting to bring Cliff Kingsbury in? And is this just Dan Quinn's last stand before his bald head's on the chopping block next year if things don't turn around?
There was a story that Adam Peters, the GM, didn't like the way Kingsbury was running the offense. Number one, GM should stay out of that. That's up to the coach. And I'm sure, and it just blows me away. This time last year, Kingsbury was about to be the toast of all coordinators and would have teams interested in him as a head coach, but he wanted to come back with Jaden Daniels, and now he's out. And I don't think it has anything to do with the record. Based on everything I've seen and heard, it has to do with he still runs kind of a college offense, and Dan Quinn's more old school NFL. Now, Peters traded their best running back, Brian Johnson, start the season, and they still had a good running game. They had injuries besides Jaden Daniels. How many games did Daniels and Terry McLaurin start together? It wasn't many.
No.
But I don't like they do things like that. Kingsbury will get a job. I don't think he'll get a head coaching job. Maybe he will, because there's a shortage of offensive coordinators. At some point, he will get a second chance. Just don't know if it'll be this year. If I was a guy like John Harbaugh, I would be interested in having Kingsbury as my coordinator.
Is there anybody that's a head coach or that was a head coach in the NFL that's not Jason Garrett or whoever else that might get in the mix?
No, I think Mike McCarthy is the coach. He did win 12 games 3 times with the Cowboys, and he was never fully in charge. And he did win a Super Bowl with the Packers, and he handled Aaron Rodgers, and he handled Jerry Jones. So Mike has a very good record. If I'm a team that has a young quarterback, like, say, Cam Ward, I'm going to try to get a coach who has been a head coach. Now, they like Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy was a head coach at Chicago with Mitchell Trubisky. They got in the playoffs. He got fired, and he's been back with Andy Reid, where he came from. Titans general manager Mike Gonzi worked with him in Kansas City, and I believe he's the first coach they're going to interview. But if I had a chance to get Matt Nagy or, say, Harbaugh, I'd damn sure be going after Harbaugh. If I'm the Raiders, Mark Davis is already spending $50 million on coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So what's another 10-year contract for $20 million a year to him? But I would be trying to get Tom Brady, be on Harbaugh's doorstep, and try to get him there. I can't wait to see how all this plays out. Of course, everybody's using the Patriots as an example, Texans as an example. You got your young quarterback, you get the right coach, then you fill in around them in the draft and free agency. And this is just such an interesting cycle. More coaches than people predicted. And I'm guessing Aaron Glenn, when he sees Harbaugh out there, he's holding his breath. But the truth is, John Harbaugh's not dumb enough to go to the Jets, who are the worst, most embarrassing organization in the NFL right now, right up there with the Raiders. But the Raiders do have Brady, which gives them some semblance of respect.
Just wanted to mention this real quick. Adam Schefter in the last 30 minutes. Jason Garrett interviewing with the Titans on Friday.
Somebody in the chat brought him up. It wasn't me. I'm not that smart with it, but somebody, I think it might have been Kyle Visser, but go ahead.
Remember, you can interview anybody you want.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're interviewing people possibly for a coordinator's job. What if they're interviewing Raheem Morris? Well, they're not going to give him a third head coaching job in the NFL, but they might be interested in him as a defensive coordinator. So now Jason Garrett, I'd be shocked if Jason gets another job. I think he's destined for NBC unless he's got a buddy who gives him a chance as an assistant.
John, it is transfer portal time in college football. How do you enjoy following the transfer portal, if you do at all, or do you just kind of wait to the end?
No, I follow it constantly. I know as of yesterday, Baylor had 27 in the portal, by far the most in the Big 12. You know, like rats deserting a sinking ship. I think they brought in 3. And then I see Texas Tech, Cody Campbell's taking over Times Square, advertising Sorsby and Texas Tech, getting the Red Raiders all kind of recognition, and more power to them. I'm happy. And I'm thinking, okay, who's going to play quarterback from Baylor? Or can they find a Trinidad Chambliss at Ferris State, which I didn't even know was in, Big Rapids, Michigan. I'd never even heard of it. Grand Rapids, Michigan. But right now, I am depressed about the state of Baylor football, and I'd like to see them do something where you go, wow, that was a great move. I thought that when they got the defensive coordinator, but I'm envious of Texas Tech. University of Houston is getting all these players with Willie Fritz. Why should Houston get them over Baylor? That's what I can't understand, but Willie Fritz is a hell of a coach. but they don't have more money than Baylor has.
Well, I got a couple notes that while we've been talking here that have come down on Bryson Washington. I might as well just mention it here. He's going to visit A&M, Wisconsin, and Auburn, according to his representative. But also, according to On3, DJ Lagway visiting Baylor tomorrow, John. So he will apparently be on campus, the Florida quarterback and the Baylor legacy. So maybe there's a big splash, but man, they got to do a lot more than just get a quarterback. So we'll see.
Baylor, if you get Lagway, even though he was a disappointment at Florida, as a freshman, he was highly rated. He was injured a lot last year. Florida fans turned on him. And I remember seeing him at the Texas Bowl before the game, where he was announced as the high school player of the year in Texas, and he and his dad were getting on an elevator. We were going back up to the Gridiron Legends suite, and I introduced myself, and I said, by the way, Baylor does now give NIL money. And if for some reason you get over to Florida and it doesn't work out, please keep that in mind, because I had heard his dad wanted to go there, but Baylor wasn't, that was that period where I think Aranda thought he could win without investing in NIL. And so I hope he goes there because it'll get him some positive attention. And right now, Baylor needs positive attention.
Yeah, right now they've been able to add three offensive linemen, I think a couple of defensive linemen. There's not, and that doesn't mean you're not getting good people, because we don't know anymore with players that come up from FCS or the group of six and who they turn out to be. But they need a banger, a name that gets the fan base reignited, or at least a little bit interested, pique their interest.
Lagway would do that. And I was doing a deep dive on Indiana. Indiana's doing great in the portal, but they have their offensive line have like 6, 5, 5, 4, and 4 years experience. They don't want young linemen. They want linemen who've done it. And they were saying they're not interested in bringing in players who have talent unless they have proved they're going to put that talent to use. They're not interested in potential. And maybe Baylor will start finding some Trinidad Chamblises at other smaller schools because they're out there. And so I certainly hope they rally. And by the way, I can't wait to see the ovation that Najee gets when he comes to Waco and comes out on the court for the first time. I'm guessing everybody's going to go wild because they know the TCU fans boot him every time he breathes. And so I can't wait to see that crowd reaction and how much he's going to be smiling.
John, thank you. Appreciate your time as always, sir.
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears. And I think Baylor plays Iowa State tomorrow night at home at the Foster Pavilion. So that will be his debut at home.
So I know we're running low here, but I do need to mention Texas Tech, another big commit. We can talk about it more in headlines tomorrow, but they just picked up Wake Forest defensive tackle Mateen Ibaragbo, who I've got ESPN happens to be what I've got in front of me right now, the number 5 overall player in the transfer portal. So that would give them 2 of the top 5, and then Cam Coleman potentially as well, maybe 3 of the top 5 if they're able to land him. But they've got Sorsby, who's the number 1 on ESPN, and then now Ibarogba to try to replace some of that defensive line talent, which
Lee Hunter, that's your replacement for Lee
Hunter.
Yeah,
and I think, obviously injuries came into play a little bit with some of their line with Skylar Gill-Howard last year. But can you just go and replace that and buy that again? Like, can you just go and replace a D-line like that every year?
Well, I mentioned that they matched the amount of sacks they're losing with 3 or 4 commitments and transfers. But, man, that was almost seamless, flawless, the way their transfer portal went last year.
So we're going to see is the point. We're going to see because they're going to get a class that looks like it's going to be awfully similar, if not even better than last year's, based on 2 of the top 5, maybe 3 of the top 5, like I said, if Cam Coleman goes there. But they got a big defensive lineman, and they certainly need some of those guys with what they're losing. So there's that. There's the Bryson Washington part that I mentioned, and then Lagway visiting Baylor tomorrow. So if they don't get him, and like I'm not even sold on that being like the greatest thing in the world anyways. Lord knows they need it. But if they don't get him, I don't know what you talk about. Like I have no idea what you look forward to in any way, shape, or form with that program moving into spring ball. So that's a big need for them for sure.
Cam Coleman is very interesting to me because he is in a good old fashioned Texas big money bidding war because it's pretty much A&M Tech and Texas that are vying for his services. And so it comes down to, because I think the money's going to be all about the same.
Oil money versus oil money versus oil money.
Yeah, it's all going to be about the same. It's going to be Arch Manning, Marcel Reed, Brendan Sorsby, and which head coach you like the most. Because, at that point, if you're Cam Coleman, maybe one might pay you a little bit more than the other, but what the rate is. Like, they're going to pay the rate for a guy like Cam Coleman. So,
I thought, and if Tech gets Cam Coleman, Texas and A&M, their heads will explode. Not that they still won't fill it with more talent, but I thought I saw where he was only going to visit A&M in Texas. But, again, a phone call can make a difference with what you can do, especially if you're Texas Tech right now. That would be it'd be a hell of a class. It'd be a great class now with nobody else. But if you add him to the mix, that is something special. Whoever gets him. This is 365 Sports.
Beagle your financial concierge. Find your old 401k. Discover your 401k hidden fees. Roll over and save thousands. Unlock your 401k and IRA. MeetBeagle.com.
Introducing Carnal Beef Jerky. Crafted by our chefs using techniques honed in the finest Michelin-starred restaurants. Taste true luxury.
Extended vehicle warranties. Warranty providers have introduced a waiting period. This waiting period lasts for 30 days or 1,000 miles. Sign up on Chase today.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Chronic lower back pain. Take the assessment first. You get a 1-week trial. Just that 1 week can change your life. The success rate is over 90%. My name's Ryan Peebles, and I'm a doctor of physical therapy.
At Dreamy, we believe that life can be upgraded in comfort, convenience, and joy.
Dude, check out this robe. This is the dude robe. It's perfect for after the shower, gym, or even the beach. This thing is awesome. It also has this super premium towel lining to dry you off right away. Dude, what are you waiting for? Get yourself a dude robe today.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5. Let's keep going in our transfer quarterback grades, round 2. Flag and Anthem is our sponsor. Go to the website and use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Number 5, Colton Joseph on his way to Wisconsin. This I'll give a B+ to. He has a ton of production, a ton of numbers, dual threat quarterback. He is better than anybody that they've had on campus in the Luke Fickell era. I'm just not completely sure that this was the best fit for him, but I do think it's an upgrade for Wisconsin, and I think they'll do the best with it. I'm just not sure Wisconsin has the structure around him for this to be an A, and I don't think that's Colton Joseph's fault. I think it's maybe more Wisconsin's fault. But we'll see if they've added infrastructure around everything else when it comes to the players at Wisconsin. Number 4, Jaden Craig at TCU. I'm going to give this one a B+. Now, look, he's 6'3", 220. He's got all the measurables, the physicals. He dominated the Ivy League. The only reason he gets a B+, he probably hasn't gotten to any B+ in his life if he's at Harvard. But, that's a bad day to get a B+ for Jaden Craig. But he was in the Ivy League. It's the Big 12. It's going to be different. But 1 year of eligibility has got some gap to kind of improve here and help Sonny Dykes kind of reclaim what's going on there in Fort Worth. I like this move. I think it's a good fit for them and allows them to transition into whatever is next at TCU in 2027. This is a good move for 2026, and I think this one could pay off huge dividends because he's got a lot of skill. But again, he's been playing the Ivy League, not in the Big 12, so it's a little bit different. We'll see how that translates. Number 3, Caden Hauser to Illinois. B+ on this one. Dual threat quarterback, really good. They're losing Luke Altmaier, who was a very productive quarterback for them. I like going out and getting someone who's a creator, like Katin Houser. Again, not the absolute best quarterback they could have gotten, but I do think in the system that's very run heavy, dual threat, Katin Houser fits. Plus, he's won a lot of games at ECU, and that, if you remember, you talking about it last week about metrics that you have to go on when you're looking for transfer portal quarterbacks. I think that wins is a big thing. He's won big games. I like that about Katin Houser. He has won big games in his conference. He has had some upsets. He's had those things. He's had big moments. I like that about him. I'm curious to see what he does in the Big Ten. Number 2, Lincoln Kienholz to Louisville. I'll give this one a B just because 2 different quarterbacks have beaten Lincoln out for the starting job, with Will Howard being one of them and then Julian Sayin being in the next over the last couple of years. But this gives Jeff Brom 2 years, or maybe even 3 with Lincoln Kienholz. I'm not sure, at least 2 years to run with a quarterback and develop him. So he's not just 1 year and 1 year and 1 year. Jeff Brom, really good developing quarterbacks. This guy's a very high 4-star, right on the edge of 5-star prospect when he came out at Ohio State. Look, they have Julian Sayin, who was the number 1 quarterback in the country 2 years ago. Now he's going to be back for his 3rd year at Ohio State. He was a Heisman finalist. Lincoln Kienholz not going to play at Ohio State. He's not going to play. He had to go somewhere, and I think very highly of Jeff Brom as a QB developer, so I'm going to give this one a B. And I think that this one has potential because if he's as good as he was in high school and can translate that to Louisville, the fans there will really love him. And number 1, Cutter Boley at Arizona State. A minus. We'll say A minus. Look, he was at Kentucky, but he was a freshman last year and played really kind of well for an offense that around him really sucked. It was not a good offense, but Cutter Boley showed some things. He is an absolutely out of the quarterback catalog when it comes to arm strength, speed, build, all those things. He's got all the tools. He showed a lot of things in the SEC. He's about to go to who I believe is the best quarterback developer in the country, and he's got 3 years of eligibility. All these factors, he's got a little bit of production, not maybe as much as you like, but for a freshman on one of the worst teams in the SEC, when you really kind of dive inside those numbers, it was pretty impressive. He's got all the tools, and he is going to someone who is a mastermind at bringing the best out in his quarterbacks and all his players. I don't know if it was anything about money, why you wouldn't want to play for Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. I will never understand it. I won't, if you decide to leave Arizona State, I don't understand you as a human. I don't get it. If it's about getting a huge payday and testing things out, that's fine. But other than that, I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe I'll never get it. I don't understand, but there is nothing that outside of a bunch of money that, clearly that Kenny Dillingham's asking for, that Arizona State doesn't have that everybody else does. They're there. So go ahead and leave. I think that as long as Kenny Dillingham stays there, that's going to be a fun place to be. And Cutter Boley will be fun to watch in the Big 12 next year. The Carnival begins now. Okay. Have you been to many live concerts, or do you have a favorite live album?
Live album?
My favorite live album, I don't know if it technically counts, but my favorite live album's Unplugged in New York, Nirvana. That I love that album and that whole show, and I've listened to it a billion times. So technically, I think they had some electricity running through those guitars, if I remember correctly. So there's a little asterisk on that, but it was a live show, tape to whatever, live the tape. So yeah, that's one that pops into my mind is Nirvana Unplugged in New York. I don't go to a bunch of concerts, so I don't really have. I haven't been to one in a really long time, actually.
I like to go to concerts, but again, it's really expensive. So now I have to really the Garth Brooks tickets cost me $500 for me and Amanda to go. And it's his last stadium tour, so I knew I wanted to go see it, but we haven't been to a concert since then. And look, it was worth every penny. It was fantastic, but because of the way the tickets work, I don't know. It was I love that show. I used to go see Jimmy Buffett every time he came through my area because it was just a fun atmosphere. My favorite live album, though, is Folsom Prison, Johnny Cash. It's just such a cool, like, I don't really love the album. I just love the story behind it. And that, like, randomly throughout the album, you have the warden making announcements for people with visitations and things like that. Yeah. And Johnny and June kind of making jokes about it. And yeah, I love it. I love that album so much. So that would be my favorite live album. Smokey, you're an Elton John guy, Billy Joel guy.
I've never seen Billy Joel live. I've seen Elton John live. I believe it's 3 different times. I've seen the Rolling Stones live out. One time, Eric took me to Vegas with him a couple of different times and saw them live. It's unbelievable. They were in Dallas too. Recently, the last time. Anything Elton John concert, I just love it. I'm amazed that he can still sing the way he does at his age, and that he has the energy that he has at his age as well. As far as the live album, Peter Frampton.
Oh wow,
yeah.
Was that Frampton Comes Alive?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
There's only one song that I like that he sings, but the other day during the holidays when I had a lot of time around the condo, and I got Alexa to play Rush a lot, and Peter Frampton a lot, and of course Journey a lot, and Elton John.
I've heard Rush did some great live shows back in the day.
That Tom Sawyer is I could listen to that right before I go play golf or something. It would be great.
All righty, let's go to the trivia questions. Long before the modern athlete covers, which legendary coach served as the original namesake and face of EA's first college football game? Bill Walsh, Steve Spurrier, Bear Bryant, or Bobby Bowden? I know this one.
Is it because it's Bobby?
It's Bill Walsh. Oh. Yeah, I know, because I had this game in 1993.
There it is.
Yeah, before they had the license, Bill Walsh college football. I loved it. It was a super fun game.
I never played this game, but I knew it was Bill Walsh. I had seen that cover at some point over the years, and I do think it's interesting. Without official branding, teams are identified only by city or state names. Rosters use number players instead of names. That would become commonplace with the college football games up until recently, too. Later entries added real rosters and featured athletes such as Tommy Frazier and Danny Werfel. I'm just kidding. Danny Werfel. I don't think I played the Bill Walsh game, but I do remember it. So
I very much played it. Okay. Next up, which Catholic university is credited with originating the term Hail Mary to describe a desperation plays decades before it became a household NFL phrase? Villanova, Notre Dame, Georgetown, or Boston College?
Well, you would think that it would be a private school, or Notre Dame being a private school, that Hail Mary would be used. Yeah, all of them are.
They're all Catholic schools.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know much about Villanova's history.
I'm gonna go out there and say Villanova because Notre Dame would be too obvious.
I think the obvious is the obvious. Okay. Sometimes I kind of am going with. I mean, I know that you play the tricks, and Andrew's got his mind games and whatnot. But I don't know, like
an evil human.
My
being.
mind, Hail Mary. I go immediately to Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's what I did. I doesn't mean. Okay, Paul, you want to fight us?
Oh no, I don't. Notre Dame.
I'm glad we didn't give you a chance to. There you go, Craig. Yeah. You finally convinced us.
Yep, the term traces back to Notre Dame's four horsemen: Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Ole Anderson. In the 20s and 30s, during a 22 game versus Georgia Tech, the team prayed, Hail Marys before scoring, prompting lineman Noble Kaiser. Gosh, I'm normally a really good reader. I don't know what's going on. To joke, that Hail Mary is the best play we've got, while Roger Staubach popularized it in the NFL, and Boston College gave us the Hail Flutie. The name and ritual began in South Bend. So there you go. That's I think the old Four Horsemen picture, it's no Flair and Ole and Arn and Tully, but that's a really cool pick on the left there.
I would bet that nobody in this room can say the actual Hail Mary but me.
Oh, I know you.
I'm not Catholic.
Yeah, Hail Mary full of grace.
No. Yeah.
I've got it started. Finish it.
Hail Mary full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. And now I'm blanking.
Oh,
I'm blanking.
Wow.
I'm blanking. I'm going straight to hell. Yeah, I'm blanking.
I'm calling the Pope.
Yeah, no, yeah. He's scarier than all the other ones because he's from the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see him just an American doing interviews as the Pope and just like talking White Sox baseball and whatnot on occasion, or getting random questions about his fandom has been kind of fun and interesting, and a nice change of departure from old European guys who I don't know all that well, or I guess South American. We had some South American popes. I don't know.
Yeah, the last one was South America.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So anyways,
we've been over here on this side of the ocean.
Yeah, so we're over here now. But that's a cool pick on the left, and just a cool nickname. Yeah. Awesome history.
Yeah. Holy Mary, Mother of God. God,
yeah.
I cannot believe that.
Somebody hasn't been to church in a while.
Well, I mean, look, I'm very proudly a lapsed Catholic. So, but yes, should there be a limit on players following a coach? 31% say put a cap on it. 56% said no player's choice, and only for first year, 13%.
Well, first of all, you're absolutely never going to have a rule where they can't do that. Yeah. That would be against a lot of laws. No, you can't go where you want to go. That won't be allowed to happen. But if we had a magic wand, which is what it would take to make college football look like it used to, then I still would say no. It's player's choice. If you want to go play somewhere else, then that is your choice. Now, I would have transfer rules, and I would have you can't just do it willy nilly every single year. But I think in the case of following your head coach, I don't think there could be a limit on following your head coach.
I got it. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. I can't believe I blanked on that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to all the priests and nuns.
Nice comeback.
Yeah, you use Google too, huh?
I know I did.
I want to get to this. I want to get to this question though. Should there be a limit on players following a coach, or is it really? Should players, anytime a coach leaves, be able to leave themselves because they may not follow their coach?
I think that you can't really stop if they fire the head coach, the roster's free to move at this point. That's not going back in the hat. So I think, this isn't realistic, basically. Yeah. But if you could do it, I get the sentiment of it, though. If you watch Iowa State's roster and you see how that's just getting absolutely pillaged, and now Wazoo's on the receiving end of Iowa State basically taking all of their roster. Yep. So it's player's choice. That's where I go.
Yep. Yeah, this all changed when you started to see the fight and the blowback and the surge of, well, why can't we leave if he leaves? With any program, maybe in football, and it has become just like the Eric Morris now with what he's doing, et cetera. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Is that it?
No, there's one more.
One more. Okay.
Will Drew Mestemaker dominate the Big 12 at Oklahoma State? 54%. No P4 speed is different. 46%. Yes, he's the real deal. I don't like dominates the strong. I think he'll do just fine. I think that
he'll put up big numbers. Yeah. Eric Morris's offenses, unless there's major injuries, it's going to put up big numbers.
They're going to be night and day offensively next year, and they're going to be a team that definitely wins more games next year. I don't know if he'll be dominant. I don't know if I would go that far, but I do think he's a very, very talented player with a lot of comfort around him now, with more resources around him. And I think there's a lot of reasons to be very excited. I wouldn't say dominate, but could he be a guy that's in the all Big 12 discussion? Potentially. I wouldn't rule that out. And I'll say what I've said 50,000 times this week and just say it one more time to sum up my feelings on Drew Mestemaker. I don't think there's a single quarterback upgrade in the country that's as significant or as massive as that one. And I think you can make an argument, maybe a position in the entire country. I just couldn't say that with as much certainty. But I can say at quarterback, this is the biggest upgrade of the offseason for any school anywhere in America, going from that room to Drew Mestemaker. So, and I don't think the P4 thing is going to be that much of a challenge. One thing is if Iowa State starts winning right away next year and Oklahoma State starts winning right away next year, you would think that'd be good. It would also be a couple of non-Power 4 rosters basically rolling in, just the UNT roster rolling in and just start kicking ass in the Big 12. So, yeah, that's going to be something to monitor on. If they're able to do that, then maybe you have to start looking at that P4 thing a little bit differently as well. Because if North Texas just rolls in and starts winning Big 12 games, or Wazoo, then I don't think you have as much of a strong leg to stand on when you're trying to create this supposed separation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's it. Now, Smoky.
All right. The big finish. And Garrett Ross, thank you. We have somebody else who's been gone forever. Brandon Rowe, who's supposed to be back tomorrow. God help us if he remembers what he's supposed to do. Garrett really has been double dipping. It's been great. You've been great. And thank you, Andrew Villade, who will put everything up and tell everybody all about us, and we appreciate you for what you do. For Craig and Paul, I'm David Smoak. We appreciate our sponsors. Thank you for your time wherever you watch us on Twitter or YouTube. Good night.